Time running is amazing. All the things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. But you can learn with me, cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, it's so amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humble and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you hear the day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, 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 yeah. Follow me, yeah, to the Saturday, yeah. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, yeah, to the Saturday. Then we go and keep it holy, we make it to the next day. Do you know what today is? It's our hidden history. Things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. But you can learn with me, cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, it's so amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humble and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you hear the day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, 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 yeah. Follow me, yeah, to the Saturday, yeah, yeah. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, yeah, to the Saturday. Then we go and keep it holy, we make it to the next day. Do you know what today is? It's our hidden history. Short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. But you can learn with me, cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, it's so amazing. I flip the page. Do you know what today is? History. Tell me, do you know can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. But you can learn with me, cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, it's so amazing. I feel the page, I see you written down again and again. Now I'm hungry and I'm walking in, I'm walking in. That if you
Shalom Israel, welcome back to our Hidden History radio show. All right, my name is Captain Joel, and to my left is
Officer Haim,
Officer Laquat,
Officer Jazz,
Officer Abaddon.
And we have Officer Abaddon subbing in for Officer Yakin today. All right, so we have another good show for you today. And today's show is Alexander's Conquest and a Whitewashing of Egypt. So, hey, Israel. So we made a detour at the beginning because we went from the migration from the land of Israel into the land of Goshen and our life in Egypt as a people. And when you look at Egypt and America, the similarities, the things that we suffer as well as the things that we went through in ancient Egypt, it's the things that we're going through in America. We were your musicians, we were your entertainers, we were your athletes. We built the pyramids, we built the treasure cities. Just like in America, we're your musicians, we're your athletes. We built the treasure cities of America. We built the White House. Mm-hmm. So we're reliving this life all over again. If I could get that real quick, for those of you that don't understand the Bible and what is called regeneration, spirits regenerate because they have a saying that history repeats itself. Not so much history that repeats itself, but the people that's being regenerated back into time is repeating the same actions. Give me that in Ecclesiastes chapter 1.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. Mm-hmm. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be.
The thing that hath been, it is that shall be in the future. Read.
And that which is done is that which shall be done.
That which is done, like ancient Egypt was one of the mightiest and economically strongest empire in existence. Everybody knows Egypt for what it was. But the things that happen in Egypt is the same things that's going to happen in the future. Read.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
There's no new thing under the sun. That's why you have Edomites study Roman history based upon the age of decadence and the fall of ancient Rome to measure out the time span that they have left on this earth and the series of events that's going to occur in America. You have some Edomites, if you go watch the YouTube pages, or you have what is called doomsday preppers. They say the way America... The way America is carrying itself about and the things that's happened in this country happened in ancient Rome. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that, Lord's will, in our next topic. We're going to go to the similarities with Rome, show the parallel history, what happened in Rome, and what to expect in America as well. Go on.
Is there anything whereof it may be said?
All right, that's it. So now, from ancient Egypt, we went from there to Japhet because right now what we're doing is exposing and tracing the footsteps of Esau, how he became who he is. Remember, Esau is a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. And the way we was able to trace him after he left Petra, because remember, Esau was given a land, or he took Seir, or Idumea, what is known as Idumean. So he took it, where the ancient city or the capital city was Basra. Later on, it was called Petra. Petra, later on, the Arabs seized control over Petra as Esau migrated into Palestine, southern Palestine, as well as Hebron. And the reason why, because during the Assyrian captivity, we have Salmanasar, you have Esarhaddon, and you have the Assyrian kings came and removed Israel out of the land, exiled the northern kingdom of Israel out of the land. After that, you have the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar also exiled the southern kingdom out of the land. Esau always had the tendency to wait you out, because Esau couldn't pass through our land in order to make his conquest and conquer the world that we know today. So from there, they conquered South Palestine. The Arabs or the Nabateans moved into Idumea or Petra, seized control over that. Israel fell 606 BC. We were subjugated into captivity. We were exiled, removed out of our place. Esau took control. And from there, you have the Romans conquered the Etruscans. And then you have the Greeks conquered the Etruscans, and then Latium, and then you have Philip of Macedon, as well as Alexander the Greek, or Alexander the Great, conquer Greece as we know today. So, let's get the article that we read last week, Rome.
Rome. He has also rendered the Hebrew Chittim by Romans and elsewhere by Italy, which as far as we can judge signifies Macedonia.
So Chittim is also known as Chittim or Italy, the son of Javan. Go on. Also signifying Macedonia. So the Macedonians are from Chittim. Go on.
See Genesis chapter 10 verse 4 in the comment.
And the reason why he says see Genesis chapter 10 verse 4, because he's actually saying, no. These are, what you're going to see, there's going to be a comparison. The author is trying to compare the two, saying Chittim is Italy. Also where the Macedonians come from, Genesis 10 verse 4. Because the confusion is a lot of Israelites also take hold of this doctrine, saying that Esau, the so-called Caucasian people, descend from Japheth based upon the territories which they conquered and seceded. That's why they call him Philip of Macedonia. They call it Agag, or no, not Agag, Haman, the Macedonian. Right. They call it Alexander, the Macedonian. But Macedon descends from Chittim, or Chittim. Read.
And the commentators on Daniel 11, verse 30. True it is, in this place, the prophet speaks of the Romans.
Truly is. The prophets do speak in this place. Italy, the Romans. Read.
But it is because the Romans, he alludes to sail from Delos in a Macedonian fleet, which they found in the harbor of Delos. Bocart has displayed all his learning to support the opinion of the rabbins, who by Chittim understand Rome and Italy.
Go on.
He shows that in this country are found cities named Chittim and Esther, also a river called.
So Bocart was one of the archaeologists that did a study in Etruria, or the Etruscans. Just like you have Sir Arthur Evans did a study in the Minoan dynasty, or the Minoan civilization. He's the one that coined it, the Minoan civilization, based upon King Minos. Now, King Minos was a descendant of Tarshish. So you have certain Edomite archaeologists that will study these different Edomite locations in order to understand world history. So Sir Arthur Evans, the one that studied the Minoan civilization, which descend from King Minos or Tarshish. You have Meneto study the ancient Egyptian civilization under Ptolemy. You had Francois La Chapelain study ancient Egypt and modern day society in the 1800s. And from him comes Egyptology as we go on. Go on. Read.
See this. But he also brings very good proofs that Chittim imports in Macedonia. See Chittim. The Jews, generally called the Romans, Idumeans.
So the Jews, now, this is where the discrepancy comes in his understanding. He gives a brief introduction at the beginning. He said, Chittim is Macedon as well as Italy. But the Jews classifies Chittim or Italy as the Romans, which is Idumeans. He said, wait a minute, how is this possible? Go on.
The Jews generally call the Romans Idumeans and the Roman Empire, the cruel empire of Edom.
And they called the Roman Empire the cruel empire, that wicked nation, Edom. Read.
It is difficult to guess their reason, since Italy and Rome...
So he's saying, wait a minute. It's difficult to, and this is how you know there's a discrepancy or there's a disassociation between history and Bible.
Right.
That's why in our hidden history, what makes us more effective and more historically accurate is us being able to take the information, the historical documents, and infuse it within the Bible. You have to do a comparison analysis. You cannot just take history on its own because it's his story. You see Esau, every empire, the Romans, we read a chapter earlier, last week we read a book when Rome destroyed all the records of the Etruscans.
Etruscans, yes.
Menetos destroyed the chronology of the Egyptians. Wherever Esau goes, they destroy the records. So that's why you got to filter the information through the Bible, because people could argue books all day long. They could obviously find information that's contrary. They said, no, but my book says this. And how do you determine, what's the determining factor who's right and who's wrong? The determining factor, the way we know whether or not if we're right, is based upon us filtering it through the scriptures. If it doesn't fit, then we're not going to go into it.
Yeah, he was confused. This Edomite was confused the whole time. In the first paragraph he read, it was all confusion until, guess what? His last resort, he had to go back to the Bible.
Got to go to the Bible.
Which started clearing things up for him.
Exactly. Go on.
The Jews generally called the Romans Idumeans and the Roman Empire the cruel empire of Edom. It is difficult to guess their reason, since Italy and Rome are far from Idumea.
So he said it's difficult to guess the reason. Italy and Rome is far from Idumea. How is it that the Jews are calling the Italians or Romans Idumea, where Idumea is on the other side of the mountain? Go on.
And had never had any affinity with the Idumeans.
So the two of them never had affinity together. No correlation, no relationship, nothing with each other. Read.
When the more learned rabbins are asked, wherefore, they maintain with great assurance and obstinacy.
So he says when the more rabbis were asked, he had to go to the biblical scholars of the book and ask, how is it that you are sure of this conclusion that the Romans are Idumeans or Esau? Go on.
That the Idumeans embraced Christianity, settled themselves in Italy.
How do you know that the Idumeans embraced Christianity? They settled themselves. In order to settle, they had to migrate. Read.
Settled themselves in Italy, and there extended their dominion.
And after they settled themselves in Italy, there they extended their dominion. Read.
That's it on.
Oh, that's it. Now let's get to the next article. So there's and that's why we're the only people that can decipher world history correctly. It's only the prophets on the earth that's able to shine light on the information and to, I will say, shed light and to clear the dust of confusion that Esau has caused on this earth. Right. Read.
Even in Virgil's time, these phenomena must have been well understood by the peasantry of Italy, in which they received from the subjugated Etrurians.
Read it. Sorry, one more time.
Yes, sir. Even in Virgil's time, these phenomena must have been well understood by the peasantry of Italy, in which they received from the subjugated Etrurians.
So the Etrurians were subjugated. Go on. Now jump down.
The ruins of Petra.
The ruins of Petra, read.
The capital of the Edomites.
The capital of the Edomites.
Or Idumeans.
Idumeans. The same thing, read.
Discovered by Buckard. Displayed a wonderful similarity to Etruscan monuments at present existing.
So Buckard, our archaeologists, discovered similarities between the Etruscan monuments and those in Petra. They're exactly the same. Go on.
Their rock-hewn sepulchres and the fantastic sepulchres which adorn them almost persuade the traveler that he is standing amid the remains of Camers or Toquini.
So he said, wait a minute. So it'll persuade the traveler to say, wait a minute. I feel like I'm standing in the midst. It's the same thing. The sepulchres, the monuments, is exact replication of that of Petra. Read.
Amphitheaters hollowed out of the solid
The
stone.
amphitheaters hollowed out of the solid stone. Read.
Pillars.
Pillars.
Wait,
so pillars? Remember, we went over last week. The pillars. And we're going to show you in a second. Make sure you have those images ready. Go on.
The colonnades, the pyramidal mausoleum, tombs of the most elaborate workmanship, and arranged with such symmetry as to form picturesque cities of the dead. Meet the eye on all sides and are equally familiar to the tourist in Etruria. A general opinion prevails amongst the Jews of the present day that their conqueror, Titus, was of Etruscan extraction and thus fulfilled the old prophecy that Jacob should be
you asked a question. Why did it say Titus was of true? Hey, can you get that book with Titus? You said it to me. So you got to ask yourself a question. Why would it say Titus was of Etruscan extraction? Based upon your monuments, the sepulchres, the carved out works, exactly that of Petra. So he's saying that when Titus was of Etruscan origins. Why is that? It's saying the same thing. How they say Esau, the so-called white man, the Caucasian, are Japhetic origins. That's the confusion if you can't trace the steps back of Esau and how he made his conquest from Petra, leading to southern Palestine, to Hebron, to the west, subjugated Etruria, then Latium, Italy, from there, all over Europe. The Gaul, you have Ireland, you have Ashkenaz, Gog, Magog, they subjugated that whole Europe. It became everybody. And not just Europe, they also subjugated Egypt. And that's the conversation that we're having today. Who's the Egyptians? So this white man has become everybody. You got that? Bring that up.
All right, I'm start at the bottom here. Blow it up a little bit. Go to the bottom. All right. So it says, this Herod was an Edomite.
So Herod was an Edomite, but they called him the king of the Jews. Can we get that real quick? So these are all Idumeans or Edomites, so-called Caucasians, whether it be French, Dutch,
that's right,
British, German, Russians, Ukrainians, all came from the same stock. The dukes that you see that ruled back during that time period are the same dukes ruling today. All right, bring that up.
The book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea.
So they said Herod was the king of Judea. But you look at the prophecy, God said that in Jeremiah, there'll be no king to reign on a throne from both kingdoms. Right. So Herod being the king of Judea, but scholars say Herod was an Edomite. So Herod was not a Jew. He was a convert. If you look at the previous Argead history shows, it was extensively going into that the Herodians were converts, or what you know as today as the Amalekites. The Amalekites always was placed up in a position of authority. And we're going to go a little bit further into that today. Right. All right, now let's go to Titus.
Let's get Titus.
Thank you, sisters, for the wonderful tea. As usual.
Oh, let's get that part. Go, real quick. His sons, meaning Herod, his sons, of course, also Edomites, were also persecutors of the race of Jacob through their virulence against the great object of his preservation, our blessed Savior. Go down to Titus now. There is a Jewish tradition, too, that Titus, under whom Jerusalem was crushed, also sprang from the same origin, that he also was an Edomite.
So Titus was also an Edomite. I'll say it again. Titus, Herod, all of them were Edomites. Oh, you think we're stopping there? Oh, no, we're just warming up. We're just getting the car started. Now, let's go into the topic. Alexander's conquest and the whitewashing of Egypt. So we just have to do a recap. Just so you guys don't forget the thought of the point. Or if you missed last week's episode, like I said, go back. We put all the books, all the information out there so you can get it yourself. World history is not going to be hidden anymore. The scriptures talk about what was in the dark is going to come to the light. All information is at our grasp. Can you read that real quick? Show you the prophecies concerning our hidden history. It's not hidden anymore because Christ opened the keys and gave us the information. Luke chapter 13, verse 2.
Yes, sir. The book of Luke, chapter 13.
12, verse 2.
Sorry. Look at Luke, chapter 12 and verse 2. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed.
There's nothing covered that shall not be revealed. And guess what? It might take us some time to find the information, but there's a spirit within us to keep at it no matter what.
That's
until our
right.
eyes are bloodshot, until our head is folded over the table, we're going to find it by any means necessary. Go on.
Neither hid that shall not be known.
Neither hid that shall not be known. Esau is being discovered, and the way he's going to be discovered is by his prophets. Now, let's go to Greece. Let's go to Greece.
Amalekites.
Amalekites.
A tradition prevails that a small number of the Amalekites colonized a part of Greece. And were
Tradition prevailed that a small number of Amalekites did what?
colonized a part of Greece.
Colonized a part of Greece. These people always colonize wherever they go. They were given the sword to live by the sword and die by the sword. Read.
And were the stock whence the Macedonians and Spartans sprung.
And they were of the stock of the Macedonians. That sounds familiar. So the Amalekites, the tradition is that the Amalekites colonized a part of Greece and was of the stock of the Macedonians. We read that earlier. So that's why it says history coincides with Bible. Give me Bible. Give me Bible. Give me Bible. That's why you got to do a comparison analysis between the two. Because it's all there. The information's there. You just got to be able to find and do the in-depth research to connect the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, let's go to Esther chapter 12, verse 6. It says a small people, or they say small. It wasn't small. And we're going to show you that. So give me Esther chapter 12, verse 6.
The rest of Esther, chapter 12 and verse 6. Howbeit, Haman, the son of Amalekites, the Agagite, who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest Mordecai and his people.
So Haman, read that again.
Howbeit, Haman, the son of Amalekites, the
Haman, the
Agagite,
son of Amalekites, the Agagite, go on,
who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest Mordecai and his people.
So it says Haman, the Agagite. So Haman was a descendant of the Agagites. Can you give me 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 8?
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive.
So Haman, the son of Amalekites, was the son of the Agagites, a descendant of Agag. Agag was an Amalekite. Go on.
And utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
And utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. So Haman was an Agagite or an Amalekite. We just read that the Amalekites colonized and took Greece.
That's really good bum.
That's real interesting.
Let's get a couple bombs, please.
That's real interesting. That we just read that the Amalekites colonized and took Greece. Let's do a little bit more research. Let's go further deeper to the rabbit hole. Let's go to Esther chapter 16, verse 10.
Bring it out.
Yes, sir. The rest of Esther.
Let me get it. Let me a little rusty.
Yes, sir.
Esther 16, verse 10. Go on.
Rest of Esther, chapter 16 and verse 10. For Haman, a Macedonian.
Haman, a Macedonian. Remember, the Macedonians were descendants from Chittim, the son of Japheth, which is a descendant of Japheth. Today, they are called the Polynesian people.
Right.
what you known as the Samoans, the Hawaiians. Those are the Polynesian islands in the Pacific Islands or the Pacific Ocean. Go on.
For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amalekites, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood.
So Ammon was not a Persian. But Ammon, a Macedonian, was ruling in the Persian Empire. He was a second in command of what you know as the hand of the king. Read.
And far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us, had so far forth obtained the favor that we shew toward every nation, and that he was called our father, and was continually honored of all men as the next person unto the king.
So he was continual honor of all men as next person to the king. Read.
But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life, having by manifold and cunning deceits sought of us the destruction, as well as Mordecai.
So the Amalekites always had a hatred, a deep-rooted hatred. Remember, in Numbers chapter 24, verse 24, it says the Amalek was the first of the nations. They were of the first of the nations to come after us. Out of all the Edomite tribe, it was always Amalek that came after us. Amalek will always try to seize control of our land. Every single captivity. And you see it again under the Persians. They found a way to even try to demolish us or to remove us all together. Because why? They always want to replace us.
Cap,
Yes.
just to take it a step back too, we got to remember the first nation that came to war with Israel was the Amalekites.
Yeah, you're right.
And Moses destroyed them.
Yep.
Our first king, Saul, got commanded by Samuel to wipe out the nation of Amalek. History continues again. But the lineage proceeded all the way in times. We just had Purim that just passed.
Yep.
Haman was descendants of Amalek.
Yep.
So throughout all our history, the ass whooping we gave them from day one, they still mad. Hence today why they still want to destroy us.
Yep, you're right.
But Most High hasn't made it possible for them, and he won't.
You know, it's like black people. You give them an ass whooping, and they keep on coming back with their boys.
Yep.
So they win.
It's never a fair fight. They said, nah, we ain't gonna let that one slide. You gonna feel these work. You gonna feel these hands. All right, you got it? So Ammon, keep reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Having by manifold and cunning deceits sought of us the destruction, as well of Mordecai, who saved our life, and continually procured out our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom with their whole nation. By these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians.
So Ammon's ulterior agenda was to translate the kingdom to the Macedonians. So there was a plot in place because Ammon was around what 480?
Right, blow it up.
Blow it up.
Put that so that everybody can see that on the screen. All right, so they can see it. All right. So here's the timeline. It says Esther at a glance. So this is the timeline of when everything took place that we read in the book of Esther. All right, you have the selection of Esther as queen. You had the formulation of the plot by Haman. Zoom in on that. Right here. All right, go over. The triumph of Mordecai over Haman. Go over. And the triumph of Israel over our enemies. Now go down. Go all the way down to 10 years. You see the time, 10 years? All right, so all of this took place in a 10-year span from 483 BC to 473 BC. Okay? So this is a whole, the book of Esther is in a 10-year span, all right? What the scholars are saying here. 483 to 473 BC is when this took place.
And you got to ask yourself a question. Ammon was put in a position not because he cared, and not because he cared about the well-being or the welfare of the Persian kingdom. He was put and set up. I'll say it again. He was placed there and set up. is no different from your CIA operatives, how America rolls. America will train people, set them up in a position of power in order to seize control of that kingdom. They do it all the time. They try to do it in Venezuela.
Right.
They'll train the operative, and they'll train them in order, and they'll cause some type of confusion or civil unrest. They'll overthrow and they'll transplant them. And they'll put their king in power. So that's what the Romans, I'll say it again, or the Amalekites or Esau, that was always a part of their plot and ploys. They always did it. That was a part of their, that's how they conquered.
And if you look at it, that's like, that's what you call a real slipper cell.
You're right.
Yeah, he's a sleeper
Sleeper
cell.
cell,
Exactly,
yeah.
that's what it is.
You gotta think about it. How a man of another nation is a second to the king. There's always a backstory, especially with Esau. There's a backstory of how he got there. Okay, which we're gonna go into.
Exactly. Let's get the Argead Dynasty.
Real quick, after you pull that up, another clear explanation of something that goes on till this very day that stems from this history. The terminology is called a client state. A client state is a particular nation that sets up someone in power in the country they want to control. So this person would act like a citizen or even a native of that country, but actually they're carrying out the other country's deeds in that country. So that's called a client state, and that stems all the way back to Greece and Rome and Israel.
Yep.
You know, if we got a chance, we can pull that up real quick.
Yeah.
Pull up client state real quick, just to get that definition. This happens today. More vividly, the turmoil you see happening in Haiti, that's because there's a client state in Haiti. You think the Haitian government is running the country, but it's not. It's a higher authority, France, America, that's running the country, destabilizing the country, setting their rule in there.
Sorry to cut you off. The richest man in Haiti is Amalek.
Dang.
Right.
He's a billionaire. In
Damn.
Haiti. He's an
Amalek.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got something on Wikipedia? There we go. Right there, Judge. You can read that right there for me.
A client state in international relations is a state that is economically, politically, or militarily subordinate to another, more powerful state.
That's what it is. United States, France. Like they say, the client state for Haiti is Argentina right now, but no one knows that. Go ahead.
A client state may variously be described as satellite state, associated state, dominion, condominium, self-governing colony, a neo-colony, protectorate, vassal state, a puppet state, and tributary state.
All right. And the history, real quick, that's the first paragraph in the history to show you where all that stems from, right back to the Bible, like we stated earlier. Persian, Greece, and Rome.
Ancient states such as Persia and Parthia, Greek city-states, and ancient Rome sometimes created client states by making the leaders of that state subservient, having to provide tribute and soldiers.
Exactly. Same thing. When people move to another country, seek refuge, you're going to have to get part of their military. And they will also send people to partake in that military, but to serve their purpose.
What you bringing out here is heavy because this is we're gonna touch on. This is what happened when we go into it. But,
right.
And this is heavy because if these states don't do what the empire that made them subservient, if they don't do what they say, they send in who? The jackals.
Exactly.
And get them out the way. That's how Rome played their game.
Yep. And if you look at the timeline, Rome conquered, subjugated Etruria in 509 BC. It's not a coincidence that Rome conquered and subjugated Etruria in 509 BC. Then you have Haman of Macedon put up second in command under the Persian Empire.
Right.
So as the Persians are conquering, Rome is little by little making their way in close to Greece because he understands from Greece he has access to the whole European world.
That's right.
So from there, 509 BC, then can you get that book real quick? Go back to the book. I forgot. Let me see what book. I'm going to show you what they did. Then we're going to get back to this. It's a general history of Europe. I want page 124.
Do y'all have that?
And it show you how Esau was plotting the whole time. And Rome, I'll say it again, Rome and Greece were, I'll say the known Edomites that conquered and subjugated Rome and Greece, they were working together. I'll say it again, Rome and Greece were working together. That's why later on they call it the Greco-Roman Empire.
Right.
They didn't conquer each other because, and get the clip, also
Oh yeah.
from last week. We're gonna show you how Esau operates within each other. That's why today they have what is called the European Union. It's all European Edomite dukes set up in a position of power, exchanging nuclear arms or exchanging power amongst each other. Even though there's internal fighting, there's arguments, there's disagreements, because that's what family do. They argue, they bicker, they disagree, they get into fights. We did it as a nation. But at the end of the day, they worked collectively together in order to subjugate and keep us on a bottom society. Now read that real quick. Not the end. I don't want the clip yet. Read.
Go back to page, please.
Yep. The history of Europe. Thank you.
All right. 192. Subjugation of the Latin tribes. 338 BC.
Genesis 27. Go on.
The year 338 BC, in which this important event took place, also witnessed the defeat of the Greek cities at the hands of Philip of Macedonia. 153. In the same year, therefore, both the Greeks and the Latins saw themselves conquered and fallen under the leadership of a single state. The Greeks under that of Macedonia, the Latins under that of Rome.
You think it's a coincidence? Coincidentally, out of nowhere, you have Rome and the Greeks, they're just two separate people, and they conquered, subjugated Macedon as well as Latin during the same time period. There's no such thing as coincidence. This was a plot. They said, listen, you're going to subjugate and you're going to control this territory, and this territory, you're going to subjugate and you're going to control this territory. And from there, we're going to spread abroad. Now you can play the YouTube clip. I'm showing you how Esau operates internally. This was all a plot from the beginning, from the time they left Petra. What do you think happened? What do you think they didn't say, oh, I'm going to make a trip. I'm going to take a trip. No, they're not taking a trip. They had council. They had a council of tables with all the ruling Edomite dukes. They sat and they said, listen, you think that they don't have the spies sitting around looking at Israel, going off into sin? You think they didn't have the transplants? Yes, they did. The way they operate today is the way they operate yesterday. They had their transplant, the CIA operatives set up, watching, looking for a downfall. That's why you had in Judah chapter 5. Give me Judah chapter 5 real quick.
Oh, yeah.
5 verse 20. We're telling you how things happened, how it worked, and how everything just came together. Things just don't come together. This is planned out. Read.
The book of Judah, chapter 5 and verse 20. Now therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin.
If they sin against this God, let us consider that this shall be the rule. You think that Esau didn't understand that? They understand our power source. They understand our connection to the Lord, the Father. That's why they had hatred for us. They carried on that hatred throughout centuries or throughout their lineage. It's always been an internal conflict because of the birthright. They feel that they deserved it over us, even though their father was rejected and he sold his birthright. So they carry that hatred all throughout history with them, and they never forgot it. So they understood our connection. They understood these people go off, they go into sin. Let it be their what?
Let it be their ruin.
Let it be their ruin.
Cap, got land back?
Yeah.
Get Lamentations 2:17. Or you can start at 2:16. To go back to land back off what Cap was saying, how they watched for us, they knew, they had spies and so forth set up to wait for our downfall. Read that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Lamentations, chapter 2,
Start at 16.
verse 16. All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash their teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up.
So they said, we have swallowed up who? Israel. Go ahead.
Certainly, this is the day that we looked for.
How? They know Deuteronomy. They read our Bible. They understood someday we was going to go into slavery. Right? Go ahead. They waited, just like Cap read in Judah 5:20. They knew when we was gonna go into sin, that was the time. Go ahead.
We have found, we have seen it.
Right. We have found and we have seen it.
And this was Lamentations. This is Jeremiah during the Babylonian captivity.
Right.
So this is Esau saying in the spirit, we have found and we have seen it. See what? The destruction of Zion. They've been waiting us out the whole time. They found and they've seen it. This is how you know it's talking about Esau. Go to Lamentations 4 verse 21.
Lamentation chapter 4 and verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee.
So Jeremiah says, rejoice now, Edom. Yea, rejoice. This is the day that you waited for. Rejoice in the destruction of Judah. That's why Obadiah said, thou shouldest not stood on the other side. And the day that your brother became a stranger. Yeah, rejoice now, because the cup that we drink, you're surely going to drink of the same cup. Read.
That's
Thou shalt be drunken.
You shall be drunken in confusion. Read.
And shall make thyself naked.
You're going to be drunken and we're going to make thyself naked. Meaning you're going to be revealed in the last day for the liar that you are. For the demons and the wicked and the man of sin that you are. Read.
The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion.
Our punishment is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. Read.
He will no more carry thee away into captivity.
God's no longer going to carry us away from captivity. Read.
He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom.
All the evil and plots that Esau designed for us, God says he's going to deliver he's going to visit thy iniquities, O daughter. Read.
He will discover thy sin.
And this is what we're doing. We're discovering and unveiling the mystery of all the iniquity that Esau committed, trespass against our people. So this was always a plot. So now you have Etruria, Latin was subjugated in 338. And then you also had Macedon was subjugated by Philip of Macedonia. Because why? These were two Edomite empires. I'll say it again. These are two dukes. I don't think you heard me. These were two dukes ruling Edomite families that got together that says, we're going to take Italy, you're going to take Greece. Play the clip.
Roll the
Years
tape.
ago, there were 3 young cousins. The eldest was a real troublemaker.
There are no rules involved.
Their grandmother was Queen Victoria,
Enough!
who kept them in line. They grew up to become Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany, Tsar Nicholas of Russia, and King George of England. And now poor Ferdinand's assassination has given the moronic Kaiser a reason to reignite their childhood feud.
But surely they've matured enough to avoid a war.
One would hope so. And thankfully we have our own King George to help keep the peace.
There it is. Look at us. 3 young cousins who thought they knew how to rule.
Pause it for a minute. And you see, that's exactly the same one they was playing when they was young. Still remain the same.
Today, right.
They said they come right back home, and then just like you go to your regular house. It's crazy. If Esau put that in the movie, a lot of people don't pick that up.
Nope.
Right.
Yeah, play it.
But now the soldiers are real. Get 2 copies of this photograph made and have them delivered with these letters immediately.
I'll have Morton see to it personally.
Excellent.
Your Majesty.
My cousin. Restraint is a virtue. Remember your duty. His Majesty, my cousin, the King of England, strongly suggests we do nothing.
Remember how Prince George used to enjoy it when your English mother and her English doctors would torture you? George would tease you about your deformities.
Yeah.
And don't forget that sniggering at his side was your little Russian cousin, Tsar Nicholas.
Cousin George is imploring self-restraint against our other cousin, the Moronic Kaiser.
King George has always protected our interests. Why would we go to war over something?
So, also, Clark, you want to speak on it? I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's to show you that, like the whole family that runs, like you was just said earlier, they divided the land amongst themselves.
Exactly.
So they all know each other.
Right.
So they know exactly what's going on amongst themselves. It's like
They call it
a family affair.
Yeah, they call the lands after their name, but they're still family. They're still the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
That also,
like you said, they all work together.
Mm-hmm.
That same thing happened, for example, with the Berlin Conference.
Mm-hmm.
When they started subjugating Africa.
These are families.
These are families taking different parts. They all came to the table, and just like they've doing since Greece and Rome, came to the table and look, you take this, we take this, and
you think they don't know what families they're a part of? These are the Dukes of Edom. I'll say it again. These are the royal Dukes of Edom back then, regenerated today. Same thing, subjugated, taking control of the land masses. They always done this. This is always part of the history, going based upon the prophecies. Now, can you give me that real quick in Genesis chapter 27?
The book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth.
So Esau's dwelling will be the fatness of the earth. He would inhabit and take the best parts of the earth. The most lustrous, the most fruitful, the most resourceful parts of the earth. That's why it said earlier that the Amalekites colonized Greece. Read.
And of the dew of heaven from above.
Of the dew of heaven, he would subjugate and take control of everything from above. Go on.
And by thy sword shalt thou live.
And by thy sword they will live. That's why they call them conquerors. You notice they said they conquered. They were conquerors. They went forth and going conquering the West, subjugated Italy, and then took all control of Europe. And today, that's why under today, the Spaniards were called the conquistadors or the conquerors. By thy sword shall they do what?
And by thy sword shalt thou live.
And by thy sword shalt thou live. So it was a joint effort of them taking Macedon as well as Italy. And then after that, subjugating all of Europe. Now, let's go to the Argead Dynasty. After Haman. So Haman ruled or came in position, second command under the king, I'll say about 484 BC.
Yes, sir. 483.
Yeah,
480 to
BC.
about 470 BC.
Around that time period. So, let's read that. The Macedonian, Argead Dynasty.
The Argead Dynasty, also known as the Timanid Dynasty, was an ancient Macedonian royal house of Dorian Greek provenance. They were the founders and the ruling dynasty of the Kingdom of Macedon from about 700 to 310 BC. Their tradition, as described in ancient Greek historiography, traced their origins to Argos of Peloponnese in southern Greece.
Hey, and let me just say this one thing. When you see that Philip conquered Macedon, that was the capital city, and that was the capital city that he conquered. Macedon was always inhabited. Esau had inhabited certain parts of Macedon. I think in the previous classes, we showed the map of the territories which Philip conquered. Macedon was the last before Alexander came in power and subjugated all of Greece. So we always had transplants in these different territories. Haman was one transplant. There's another book. I'm not going to go into that book because it's a lot of reading. But it shows how Philip's conquest into Macedonia and how he had transplant. He hired some of the native Etruscans and he hired them as operatives. I'll say CIA operatives. And they conquered and took Macedon internally.
Damn.
It's no different. I'll keep reading.
Hence, the name Argeads or Argives, initially the rulers of the tribe of the same name by the time of Philip II. They had expanded their reign further to include, under the rule of Macedonia, all Upper Macedonian states. The family's most celebrated members were Philip II of Macedon and his son, Alexander the Great.
You see, the family, read that part again.
The family's most celebrated members.
The family, the Amalekite family, the Dukes of Amalek's family's most celebrated members, read,
were Philip II of Macedon and his son Alexander the Great, under whose leadership the kingdom of Macedonia gradually gained predominance throughout Greece. Defeated the Achaemenid Empire. That's it, right?
Yep, go to the next one.
Philip of Macedon. Go up to the highlighted. Macedonia gets no space on the front page of Greek history, nor any on the second page until the Persian invasions. When Darius invaded Scythia, he sent his general Megabazus down to Thrace and Macedonia to subdue them, which he accomplished in part, and which Mardonius accomplished more effectually some 20 years later. The Macedonians made no attempt to resist the mighty host of Xerxes, and their king Alexander was an ally of the Persians.
Go to the next one. So notice it says they didn't make an attempt to go against Xerxes at all because Esau works smart. Now, this is about 480. Like I said, this is prior to Philip taking seats of control, show you that there were Edomites in certain territories of Macedon. Not all of Macedon. So you still had Japhet or Chittim ruling certain parts. Macedonia is vast.
So Alexander, these are some of the kings prior. This is the lineage of Alexander and Philip. These are some of the kings. This is how everything led up to what you know. King Perdiccas, son and successor of this Alexander, played fast and loose both with Athens and with Sparta during the Peloponnesian War. King Archelaus, who succeeded him, was a devil who came to the throne by foul murder, but he was a gentlemanly devil and a strong king. Especially, he cultivated the friendship of Athens and made his court a center of Greek art and literature. Archelaus and 3 others, having reigned a longer or shorter time, each of them having died in a manner more usual to kings of Macedon, Amyntas came to the throne. He was otherwise conspicuous and was the father of Philip.
Can you go back? Read up a little bit. There's a lot. Go back.
I was about to say that. I didn't want to interrupt.
No. I just want to get the whole thought. Go back. I'm showing you how these people, you want to
I just wanted to say, go
ahead.
Who wrote this right here? did the Negro write this right here?
Nah, this ain't Negro writing right here.
This is not Negro writing. He says, right back to who succeeded.
I started especially.
The king.
Especially, he cultivated the friendship of Athens and made his court a center of Greek art and literature. Archelaus and 3 others having reigned a longer or shorter time, and each of them having died in the manner more usual to kings of Macedon.
So it says each of them. Wait.
No.
Oh, king. I see you.
Go back.
I'm sorry. King Archelaus, who succeeded him, was a devil.
Who was what?
A devil.
So when we're calling Esau the devil the Bible speak of, they know themselves that they are the devil.
It's historical.
By the cruelty that they use to conquer and to divide nations for their own gain. Read that again.
It says King Archelaus, who succeeded him, was a devil who came to the throne by foul murder.
By what?
Foul murder.
Read.
But he was a gentlemanly devil.
You can't make this stuff up.
He was a devil, but he was a good devil.
And this is why people are confused by your friendly neighborhood white man. He's going to be a gentlemanly devil. He's going to smile in your face. He's going to bring you
roses,
the Planned Parenthood. He's going to show you how to marry your child into their nations to destroy you, just like a gentleman. But you're deceived. Go ahead, Kat.
Go to especially.
Especially, he cultivated the friendship of Athens.
He made friends with Athens, read.
And made his court a center of Greek art and literature.
So he even made his court a center of Greek art and literature. He said, look, I ain't even keeping up the culture. So he's using craft, or he's trying to show his friendship. Look at me. We're both the same. I even reverence your type of culture and your artwork.
Herod did the same.
And also, when you speak of Greek art and literature, this is where our people are confused about image. Image speaks volumes. What people see is what sticks to their memory on who has the authority, who has dominion over something. You see a white Christ, you're going to think white people has authority and dominion over you. If now we're coming back to the black image of Christ, that's going to have authority and dominion over your spirit. But our people reject it. But the devils are using art and literature to form their government. Right.
Yeah. And you notice how he used their art and literature. We're not talking about Edomite art and literature during that time period. We're talking about Japhetic art and literature, because a lot of this stuff, Esau, when he came into power, that's when they started whitewashing.
Right.
But they adopted all of your Greek mythology is based upon Japhetic mythology. They adopted a lot of the gods and their customs, like the Hellenists or the Hellenes. Alexander, he Hellenized all of Greece because he got that from the Hellenes, or Elis, or Elisha, known as Javan, a descendant of Javan. Greece, the father over Greece. So they took the art to make alliance because he trying to appease them. Hey, look, if you're trying to appease somebody, you're trying to make friendship. You say, hey, look, I even have your pictures, your artwork, everything. I'm like you. Right. Friendship. He's trying to establish that relationship with him to lower his guards. This is what Esau does. Go on.
Archelaus and 3 others having reigned a longer or shorter time, and each of them having died in the manner more usual to the kings of Macedon.
So, a manner more usual. What is the manner more usual to the kings of Macedon? How do kings of Macedon die? Usually, a king's supposed to die by just natural death. Showing that there was some ill doings in that. They didn't die your natural cause of death. They die probably brain aneurysm. Right. Like you have some of these rules. Oh, how did he die? Oh, brain aneurysm, heart attack. Okay, go on.
Amyntas came to the throne. He was otherwise conspicuous, and he was the father of Philip. Driven from his kingdom by Illyrian highlanders, he afterwards regained his throne, which had been usurped by the pretender. Next page.
Okay, let's go back to the Achaemenid Macedonia.
The Achaemenid Macedonia. The Achaemenid Macedonia refers to the period in which the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon was under the sway of the Achaemenid Persians. In 512 to 511 BC, the Persian general Megabyzus forced the Macedonian king Amyntas I to make his kingdom a vassal of the Achaemenids.
So that's what we're seeing, the joint alliance. He forced him to make his kingdom a vassal of the Achaemenids. They joined alliance. They started working collectively together. Read.
In 492 BC, following the Ionian revolt, the Persian general Mardonius firmly retightened the Persian grip in the Balkans, making Macedon a fully subordinate kingdom within the Achaemenid domains and part of its administrative system.
And part of its what?
Administrative system.
Haman was the second in command, a part of the administrative system. You look at the time period. It says 492 BC. Haman was during, 482. That's what, I'll say it again. He was during Persia, so Haman was made second in command during this time period. So what the history that we're reading in Esther it's all happening during the same time period. Esther was about 484, but Haman's already in power.
So this history that we're reading right now, this is what led up to Haman getting in his position.
Yup.
All right. Macedonia served the Achaemenid Empire during the Greco-Persian Wars and their invasion of mainland Greece. They reigned independence following the defeat and withdrawal of the Achaemenid Empire in 479 BC. Around 513 BC, as part of the military incursions ordered by Darius I, a huge Achaemenid army invaded the Balkans and tried to defeat the Western Scythians, Roman to the north. Jump down. Darius's highly regarded commander Megabyzus was responsible for conquering the Balkans. The Achaemenid troops conquered Thrace, the coastal Greek cities, and the Pannonians. Eventually, in about 512 to 511 BC, the Macedonian king Amyntas I accepted the Achaemenid domination and submitted his country as a vassal state to Achaemenid Persia. Megabyzus received a present of earth and water from Amyntas, which symbolized submission to the Achaemenid emperor.
That's what you saw in the movie 300. He says earth and water. Go on.
The multi-ethnic Achaemenid army possessed many soldiers from the Balkans. Moreover, many of the Macedonian and Persian elite intermarried.
Many did what?
Moreover, many of the Macedonian and Persian elite intermarry.
Many of the Macedonians and the Persian elite intermarry. That's another way. That's a political move a lot of times to join alliance in a family. In order, you had Esau. That was always a trick of Esau in order to get control, and then later on further overthrow their kingdom by intermarrying. They did it under the Maccabees. I said it again. The Herodians did it under the Maccabees by marrying into John Hyrcanus' family. Afterwards, they killed off the family members and succeeded the throne as a king over Judea. This is how Esau does it. Marriage, a lot of times, is more political, for control, for power. You guys want to say something?
So, okay, I'm sorry. Esau, their game, they have no problem with giving up their women to infiltrate any empire or organization, whatever they got to do.
And usually their woman is working with them.
Right.
Because they know once them is empowered, they're empowered too.
Hey, as it was said before, gentlemanly devils. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And this is also no different from what happened during the Spanish Inquisition. You look at the movie Othello. Okay, the same. They overthrew us. We always had compassion for Esau. For some reason, we always had compassion for them. We let them into our circles. Okay, and from there they get into our heads, and they just overthrow us.
Hey, officer, that's what happened in America too. They would have white men marry into the chief's daughters and take over the
Yes, yeah. When they came and conquered Gad, yes, on this side of the world. Okay, so that's always been their tactic. They held on to that tactic from the very beginning.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to take a short break, and then, like I said, we're going to continue with Philip as well as Alexander coming to power. All right? And like I said, you can call in 267-702-6121. Once again, you can call in 267-702-6121. All right? We'll be back shortly.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people.
It's you who don't know. It's you Afro-Syrians who don't know your history.
And going to the other side of India, you see the Dalits as well as the Siddhis. Same thing on the Eastern Hemisphere. Mass incarceration, police brutality, lynchings, convict leasings.
You brothers and sisters in South Sudan, your heritage goes far deeper than where you live. You are the children of God.
Ein Herz, das arge Ränke, was sind
Vamos poder disputar. Die Français.
Laat je niet misleiden, dat is van onze people.
Most Christ blessed to Isaac here. I'm here with the deacons, Amalekite, we had an opportunity today to speak with the man himself. As you know, this brother's been in the media. There's been a lot of lies told on his behalf, and he had the opportunity to speak for himself. What did you guys think? You have to see it for themselves. See it for yourself, Israel. For yourselves.
His name is Jimmy Chalamet, more commonly known by his childhood nickname, Barbecue. Once a Haitian police officer, he is now the leader of a powerful confederation of gangs called G9, which controls much of Port-au-Prince and its suburbs.
Des conditions, si vous mettez nous cité soleil, vous mettez nous la saline, vous regardez, c'est comment on ça fait vivre. Ou même qui dans le pays, on dit comment on fait vivre là.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right. So now we're going to make our conquest and start with Alexander. Let's start with Daniel chapter 10, verse 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks, and I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled.
Go on.
And in the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel.
You notice how, I'm not sure if everybody wondered, the Most High dealt with us, went deep into visions anytime we committed ourselves to a special fast. He did it to Esther. He says fast 7 days and this fast 7 other days. So these different type of fasts that the Most High will require of us in order to go deep into the spirit. Because when you empty out your soul, when you empty out your stomach, when you're not giving to the flesh, the Most High is able to enter our vessel and deal with us on a different level. So showing you the importance of fasting. Go on.
Verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
So Daniel is seeing through the vision, and he's looking in his eyes. He see a man girded with what?
Girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
This man that he's seeing in his vision is girded with fine gold of Uphaz. Read.
His body also was like the beryl.
Meaning his body, his garment was like the beryl, meaning he had a green garment on. Read.
And his face as the appearance of lightning.
And his face like the appearance of lightning. He had an aura. He had a glow. Not that he was white, but he had the appearance of the lightning. So you see they have the halos behind them. Go on.
And his eyes as lamps of fire.
And his eyes were as lamps of fire, meaning the whites of his eyes were red. Just like you read in Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. His eyes shall be red with wine. Read.
And his arms and his feet.
And his arms and feet, read.
Like in color to polished brass.
Like into color to polished brass. What color is brass? Brown. Read.
The voice.
And it says polished brass. In order to thoroughly polish brass, you got to burn it in a furnace. And that's how you polish it. Meaning, this man that Daniel was looking at was a very dark man, a so-called black man. Read.
And the voice of his words, like the voice of a multitude.
And the voice of his words was like the voice of the multitude. What is Daniel seeing? Daniel seeing in a vision Christ before he even came on the scene. So Christ always been there from the beginning of the time. Daniel was seeing and dealing with Christ in the vision before we read about Revelation chapter 1. Before we even knew about Christ coming on the scene. Right. Daniel was speaking to or seeing Christ himself. Go on.
Verse 7. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men that were with me saw not the vision. But a great quaking fell upon them.
So this vision was so powerful, if Daniel alone only saw the vision, but everybody else felt the great quaking. Go on.
So that they fled to hide themselves.
They hid themselves. Daniel was able to withstand it, but the other people around them, they had to hide. They're so afraid because of the quaking. Go on.
Therefore, I was left alone and saw this great vision.
Because the Most High wants to deal with Daniel alone and him himself. And he's the only one that saw the great vision. Read.
And there were... That the Lord does not deal with everybody.
No, he doesn't deal with everybody the same.
Yeah.
Every captivity, you had your major prophets. You don't read during the time period of Elijah and Elisha. You don't read about the sons of the prophets. You don't read about the 7,000 that didn't bow the knee to Baal. Every captivity, you're going to have your major prophets. Even though it doesn't diminish the other prophets.
Right.
There was other prophets. Yeah, there was other leaders around during that time period.
But there's always a main leader.
Yep, exactly. There's you always have leaders, but there's that one leader that God uses in order to filter his information through. He's the source behind everything. He's that head that God's going to work through, just like Judas. Judas was one of the main leaders. He was that help. But you think his brother wasn't a help? Right. You think that there was other men or prophets? That's why Judas says, wait for the Lord to rise up, that a prophet may come to interpret.
Right.
But I thought Judas was a prophet.
Right.
But there was other men there, but Judas was that main leader. Just like today, we have Bishop Nathaniel is that main leader, that source that the Lord is working through. It doesn't diminish all the other prophets. You got the elders here. You got the apostles still here. But there's one source that God's going to work through that's going to feed everybody else. Neo.
In other words, stay in your lot.
That's
Your lot.
Yes.
Stay in your lot.
So stay in your lot.
Right.
Let the Lord, and you got to acknowledge it. Esau acknowledges it. And the sooner you acknowledge it, the easier it becomes for us to support him. Right. And understand the Most High is working through him. So the information that he's coming out with is being filtered through him, through the Lord, to filter through us so that we can spread this thing and filter through the whole earth.
Right.
That's right. That's how we work together.
That's what the Lord says is not the author of confusion.
Exactly. Right. Go on.
Verse 8. Therefore, I was left alone and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for my comeliness was turned into corruption, and I retained no strength. Yet heard I the voice of his words.
So he said, yet heard I the voice of his words. Whose words? The voice of the words that we read in verse 5 and 6. The vision that was shown to him of the Messiah. Read.
And when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face.
He was in a deep sleep on his face when he started speaking to him. Read.
And my face toward the ground. And behold, an hand touched me, which set me up upon my knees and upon the palms of my hand. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved.
So this is that same voice speaking to Daniel in verse 5 and 6, which is the voice of Christ. Read.
Understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me...
Think of the honor that was given to our fathers, for Christ himself to come to Daniel in a vision, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the man that was used to form all living things under the heavens. To come to Daniel of special honor, showing that Daniel was not a regular man. Daniel was a special man created on this earth, and like no other person. Go on.
And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me...
And when Christ spoke unto Daniel, he stood trembling. Because why? Daniel had a righteous fear of Christ. Not like some of you. Some of you read the words of the voice and you still do what you do. You still disregard this truth and come against us. Because you don't understand, you don't have that perfect fear. Right. You don't believe that these are the words that's coming from the Bible. You don't believe that these are the words of Christ. You disregard it, but Daniel understood, and he stood there trembling with fear of what he was hearing. Read.
Then said he unto me.
Then Christ said unto Daniel,
Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God.
The first day, Daniel, you set your heart to understand, meaning Daniel went into the letters. Daniel meditated and he chastened himself. To chasten means to afflict your soul. He started fasting. The Most High was opened up to Daniel's cries. The same thing happened to who? Cornelius. He says, thy prayers and thy alms are come up as a memorial before me. Right. I'm telling you what fasting does. It connects you closer to the Lord for him to deal with you on a personal level. When you afflict yourself, you're showing your faith and your belief. And you're trying to show the Lord, I want to make that connection. And the only way to do it is to keep myself from my fleshly lusts, my pleasures, and my desires in order to get closer to you. I'm going to afflict myself. I'm going to suffer, oh Lord, to have that relationship to you. Because you got to show the Lord, listen, I'm going to sacrifice something. Mm-hmm. And what's the best thing to show sacrifice to the thing that you need to survive? Right. Go on.
For from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia.
Read it again.
But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days.
So the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood Christ 120 days, 120 days. You have the prince of the king of Persia. You might ask yourself, what does this mean? What are you talking about in terms of the prince of the kingdom of Persia? How did it withstand Christ? We're talking about and going to realms that you can't even see, that you don't even believe exist. So read it again.
But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me.
But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood Christ. We're going to realms. I'm talking about spiritual realms. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood Christ. Can we get John chapter 14, verse 30?
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 30. Hereafter, I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me.
So Christ says, the prince of this world cometh, and have nothing in me. Read it again.
Hereafter, I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me.
So the prince of this world cometh, and have nothing in Christ. Give me Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 2. Wherein, in time past, ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
Read it again.
Wherein, in time past, ye walked according to the course of this world.
You walked according to the course of this world. Remember, Christ just said, the prince of the power of the air have nothing in me. So he said, you walk according to the course of this world. Read.
According to the prince of the power of the air.
According to the prince of the power of the air. There's a power, there's a prince, there's a power that this world is operating and being ran by. Go on.
The spirit.
And there's a spirit. So there's a spirit, there's a power that's running this world. That's why it says the prince of the power of this world have nothing in me. There's a wicked demonic spirit in high places that you can't even see. Is he a Christian church? Is he a mosque? Is he a Catholic church? Is he a world superpower? Is he a government? Is he your Illuminatis? Is these dark forces and powers that rule in dark places that you have no clue exist? So this is a spiritual power that you can't see, neither that I can see. That's working in what?
The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
So it's a spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. These are wicked demonic spirits that run this world. Now give me Ephesians chapter 6.
And Cap, is it safe to say that these dark spirits, they have a hierarchy also?
Yes, they do. I'm going to show you.
The book of Ephesians.
Go ahead.
Chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world.
That's why he says you work according to the course of this world. There's a spiritual power. There's a prince. There's a demonic force that was controlled by Satan and his evil angels that has been given control of different powers and different kingdoms as well as rulership to control this world that we live in today. So when Christ is saying that the prince of the power of Persia withstood me, he's going to the spiritual realm to show that there's certain dark forces that are set up that is contrary to the right side. Read on.
Against spiritual wickedness.
Against spiritual wickedness. Demonic forces. Read.
In high places.
In high places. Let me show you something real quick. Go to Fall of the Spade Kingdom real quick. I'm showing you this is a dark power that you see it today. You wonder why. What would make a man go from wearing jeans, a masculine man, to wearing a dress? What would make a man going to singing a cowboy song to twerking on a devil?
Right.
There's spiritual forces that are controlling this world.
Even that cowboy song was suspect too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was sad. We ain't gonna summon that damn spirit up.
You got the video?
It was suspect.
Black and Clover. Clover Kingdom. What do you get the page up for? What's wrong with this guy? Clover Kingdom. It'll be like New York now.
And Cap, and this goes into when the prophets is out in the streets and teaching people and they're resisting the truth.
Exactly.
You showing them the truth. You showing them evidence. They look around, see the condition of their people, but they're resisting the truth that they're hearing.
They're resisting the power.
The power, you know, the power.
They said they're too powerful. Does this mean the rumor that the devil's power has been bestowed upon them is true?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have these three individuals, these three ruling figures that was ran by three main demons. And one of those was Lucifero. I forgot the other two demons, but they gave these three individuals the power in order to overthrow that kingdom. Showing that these shows understand it. The show is called, Black Spades, I believe.
Black Clover?
Black Clover, thank you. Black Clover. So now, let's go back to Daniel chapter 10, verse 13.
Can I read the scripture?
Yep, go ahead.
1 Peter 5 in it. That's why Peter says this, concerning us. Read it.
Yes, sir. The book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about.
See that? Walketh about. He's walking about. You can't see him. Right?
Yep.
You can't see him. So it's a prince of the air. Yeah?
Seeking whom he may devour.
Right. Seeking you if you're in sin, he's going to devour you. Go ahead.
Exactly. Back to Daniel chapter 10, verse 13.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me.
So we're reading about the intervention of angels and empires. I'll say it again. We're reading about the intervention of angels and empires fighting within the spiritual realm. So when it says the prince of the power of Persia, you have spirits on the opposite side of Christ that's fighting. So when you see kingdoms fighting against each other, you're seeing just kingdoms alone, but in the spiritual realm, you have kingdoms fighting on the back end of things. So the translation of powers or empire is determined by the spiritual realm of empires fighting on the back end. So you have the prince of the power of Persia, you have the wicked demonic spirits that was working, or the forces that was working with Persia was fighting against the forces of Christ. Because Christ was trying to translate the kingdom over to the Greeks. Go on.
1 in 20 days.
So 1 in 20 days, 120 days, you have the prince of the pearl. You're seeing the intervention of angels fighting one with each other on the back end in the spiritual realm. Go on.
But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me.
Michael had to assist Christ in the overthrowing of the Persian Empire. I'll say it again. You're seeing Michael intervening, one of the chief princes coming to assist Christ in the overthrow of the Persian Empire. Read.
One of the chief princes came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia.
And he remained there fighting with the kings of Persia, because Persia at the time period was trying to overthrow the different different Greek empires rising up and trying to succeed Xerxes and them. So I said again, you have Grecia, you have Macedonia, you have Thrace, you have Athens. They're all trying to rise up in power to overthrow the Persians. So Christ was fighting alongside, if you give me that picture, you know what I want, my folks, with Alexander.
Yes,
if you
sir.
put that up on the screen. So Christ was fighting for the overthrow and the overturning of the Persian Empire. It's a spiritual warfare on the back end of things.
Cap, can I, if I don't want to throw you off.
Yeah.
Can I show this scripture? I don't know if that's what Steph is talking about.
What scripture?
It's a scene from the Immortal.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, also, I want to land back, if Cap allows us,
Yeah.
2 Maccabees 5.
I was gonna go in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So right there, play that. That's what you're talking about, right, Cap?
Yep.
Like that's.
Yep.
And this is not on the earth. This is
Nope.
like,
Yep. You're right.
yeah.
I tell you.
That's a little crazy to me. Your second Maccabees chapter 5 verse 21. No, 5 verse 1 of me.
So before we
I see the Maccabees look like.
before we experience things in the flesh, understand that it's already being worked out in the spiritual realm.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 5 and verse 1. About the same time, Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt. And then it happened that through all the city, for the space of almost 40 days, there were seen horsemen running in the air in cloth of gold and armed with lances, like a band of soldiers.
Play that again. It's the same thing that we're experiencing right now. Play it again.
You see the horse and the men dressed in gold.
Play it again.
Come on.
Yeah, immortal.
Exactly what we're seeing right now.
Read that.
Yep, read it as it's playing. Yep. Just diminish it. You mute the sound. Play.
Verse 2.
From the beginning.
Verse 1. About the same time.
Go back, bro.
Go back.
The movie, yeah.
Step, yeah.
Good.
As he's reading it, play it.
2 Maccabees chapter 5 verse 1. About the same time Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt. And then it happened that through all the city, for the space of almost 40 days, there was seen horsemen running in the air in cloth of gold and armed with lances like a band of soldiers, and troops of horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another, with shaking of shields and multitude of spikes, and drawing of swords, and casting of darts, and glittering of golden ornaments, and harness of all sorts. Wherefore every man prayed that the apparition might turn to good.
So we're seeing apparitions might turn to good.
That's bad.
So you're seeing the spiritual. Now get me before the Mayflower. So anytime you see wars between kingdoms and overthrowing of kingdoms, in the back end of the spiritual realm, there's wars going on at the same time. So we just can't see it. Now get me. Yep. No. I say get me before the Mayflower. Pay attention to my words.
And somebody said the Bible is not a true book.
Exactly. All right. Enlarge that.
He is liar, man. He is liar.
Yep. So let's see. You can start there. No, go there. Yeah, start there. You got it?
Early in life, Turner came to the view that God had set him aside for some great purpose. To accomplish this purpose, he avoided crowds and close companionship and wrapped himself in mystery. Systematically ascetic, he renounced tobacco, liquor, and money. There was method in this maneuver, as Turner himself admitted.
Go on. Now, go down. So this is Nat Turner. Now go down.
With maturity and increasing recognition came a feeling that he was destined to lead his people out of bondage. Like Gabriel, like Denmark Vesey, Turner found food for insurrection in the Bible.
Turner found food for insurrection in the Bible. Nat Turner was a prophet of God. And he knew very early on that the Most High was dealing with him differently from everybody else. Go on.
He immersed himself in religion.
He immersed himself in what?
In religion.
Go on.
He even prayed at the plow. He saw visions.
He saw what?
Visions.
God showed him visions. That's like God showed Daniel visions. Go on.
And heard voices.
Did not Daniel see visions? And heard voices as well? Yes, read.
One day, he had an unusual vision. He saw black and white spirits.
He saw black and white spirits, read.
Wrestling in the sky.
Black and white spirits wrestling in the sky. The Lord opened up Nat Turner to the spiritual realm to show the internal conflict. We're seeing things on the outside. We're seeing things in, like I said, reality. But God opened his eyes to see black and white spirits wrestling in the sky. Good against evil. Go on.
Damn. The sun grew dark and blood gushed forth in streams. Ordinary things appeared to the mystical slave in a strange light. While plowing the field, he saw drops of blood on the corn.
Damn.
While walking in the woods, he found hieroglyphic.
Those hieroglyphic characters are not hieroglyphic characters.
Right.
Those are Hebrew words he found. Nat Turner saw Hebrew inscriptions. Go on.
He found hieroglyphic characters and blood on the leaves.
And blood on the leaves. Get me 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 31 now.
Hey, you see what they call him? The mystical slave. He was a prophet.
He was a prophet.
And this ain't nowhere near as dumb visions these Christians in Christianity seen.
Nope.
He saw it plain, black and white.
Exactly.
Y'all still trying to marry and be friends with the white people. He saw black and white and he saw bloodshed.
Yep,
Don't get it twisted.
Exactly. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 31.
2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another.
So we're seeing, and one kingdom shall undertake to fight the other kingdom. Read on.
One city against another. One place against another.
Read.
One people against another.
Read.
And one realm against another.
That's the realm that we're talking about. One realm against another is going to the spiritual realm. We just read that in 2nd Maccabees chapter 5. We just saw that Nat Turner seeing a vision of black people fighting against white people, an apparition in the sky. There's always been an internal fight in the spiritual realm that we can't see. That's always been there. Christ, as well as Michael, is responsible for the translation from one kingdom to the next kingdom. And whatever kingdom rules in power is the power given to them. I'll say it again. Whatever kingdom wins the war is the power given to them, and Christ gives them that power to rule. We saw that in Black Clover. They said, yo, the rumors are true, that the power of the devil has been given to them in order to rule. That's always been the case throughout time. This is a spiritual warfare. That's why God says, fight with my words. When we fight with God's words, we're fighting with the power of Christ and Michael, as well as the angels. They're sitting right beside us when we're fighting. So when we go on the street, don't speak your old dumb Negro words. Speak the words of God. Your words are filthy. Your words are disgusting. Your words are deplorable. You speak the words of Christ. He says, oh, not my words, pop fire. And the people wouldn't stubble, and once you burn them up, we're fighting a spiritual warfare. So take this serious, Israel. Now, give me 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 17.
Ooh, that's just about to ask you.
2 Kings 6, verse 17. Why are we scared? Why are you scared to go out in the streets when you understand you already won the battle? We have more with us than is with them. It might seem that the whole world is against us. It might seem that the devil's got these superpowers, but we got the power of Christ and the angels. We got the power of Yahawashai. That's right. 2 Kings 6, verse 17.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 17. And Elisha...
16.
Sorry.
Read.
2 Kings, chapter 6, verse 16. And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them.
Fear not. It might seem that it's a losing battle. It might seem that we're walking uphill with a pound of weights on our legs. It might seem difficult and tough at times. You wake up, you go to work. You live paycheck to paycheck. You're in fear of your life. You're in fear of being evicted. You're in fear of losing your job. You're in fear of losing your children. You're in fear of losing your livelihood. You're in fear of the famine. All throughout every day you look at the news, there's a spirit of depression that takes hold of you. The Bible says what?
And he answered, fear not.
Fear not. Don't worry. All this is a distraction. All this is to test your faith to whether or not God told you. Fear not. None of these things that sit before you. It's not real. It's all to try your faith, whether or not you believe, and to prove you whether you keep my commandments, or will you get weak? Will you make haste at a time of trouble? Will you flee when trouble comes up? The Bible says, "Fear not." Read.
For they that be with us are more than they that be with them.
They that be with us are more than be with them. The Bible says Christ is coming with 10,000 and thousands and 10,000 of angels. He's coming to make war. So what are you afraid of? We got angels surrounding all about us. But some of you, you're spiritually blind. You're in darkness. Some of you just need to open up your eyes and see. Read.
And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes.
Lord, I pray thee, open their eyes so they can see around them. Yeah, they might come at us with guns. They might come at us with violence. They might spoil your house. They might take your children. They might do whatever to you. They might torture you. But the Bible says, Lord, open their eyes. Because if you open your eyes, the angel's sitting right by you like this. Don't worry about it. As soon as they take your life, I'm going to translate you to paradise. Then I'm going to bring you back down. And you rain terror upon these wicked people. Read.
Open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man. And he saw, and behold, the mountains was full of horses and chariots.
The mountains were full of horses and chariots. He opened his eyes and, Lord, cause him to see your power. And when he opened his eyes, the mountains were full of horses and chariots. The power of God. Read.
Horses and chariots of fire.
Of fire. Read.
Round about us.
Round about us. And not my words, fire. That's what it's going to read.
And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people, I pray you.
Smite these people, I pray you. By one word. Smite them, I pray you. Read.
With blindness.
With what?
With blindness.
Give me what Judas and Maccabees, second Maccabees, when he was riding with the horsemen. And smite these people with what?
With blindness.
Read.
And he smote them with the blindness, according to the word of Elisha.
And he smote them with the blindness according to the word of Elisha. The Most High had respect to his prophets. Give me that in Maccabees now. What is it, Maccabees 10? With the apparitions right beside him.
Oh,
yeah, I think it's...
I think Heliodorus is Maccabees 10. What is it? Is it Maccabees 5 still?
I got it.
Read.
10. Second Maccabees, chapter 10 and verse 29. But when the battle waxed strong, there appeared unto the enemies from heaven 5 comely men upon horses.
5 comely men came from heaven. These are the spirits. These are the angels of God. Upon horses, read.
With bridles of gold.
With bridles of gold, majestic, royal in their apparel. Read.
And 2 of them led the Jews.
And 2 of them led the Jews. Would you realize, brothers and sisters, there's more with us than is with them. It's a fixed battle, and we already won. Because Christ and the angels, as we're fighting, Christ, Michael, Gabriel, all the archangels, the 7 angels are going around the earth fighting for us and spreading the word. When a bishop speaks, when a deacon speaks, when a captain speaks, the word is activated and it's spread throughout the earth. And that's why people are waking up. You don't see it. That's why it says, not one drop of this word shall go void. The word doesn't go out void. You know why it doesn't go out void? Because the angels, as soon as we speak the words are activated. The angels carry the words through your radio stations. The angels carry the words. The angels carry the words through your YouTube, your Facebook. The angels carry the word and carry it to the right people. Those are the angels activated and bringing the word of God all throughout the 4 corners of the earth. That's their job. So that's why the Bible says, fear not. For when we war, they're warring with us. They try to do a media blackout. The angel says, oh, that's Satan move? Don't worry. Christ understands that America is trying to withstand Christ. So Christ said, oh, get my other angels. Activate them. Send them here. Send them to China. Send them to Japan. Send them to India. Send them to France. Send them to Russia. Send them to Europe. Send them to Africa. Until this whole earth is covered. Read.
And 2 of them led the Jews and took Maccabeus betwixt them and covered them on every side with their weapons.
And covered them every side with their weapons. You know this, brothers and sisters? Don't be scared. Go out and fight. I'll say it again. You know this? Why be scared? There's more of us than is with them. They got their guns, their swords. What the hell with their guns and their swords? Christ made all these things. Go on.
And covered them on every side with their weapons.
Read.
And kept them safe.
Read.
But shot arrows.
And kept them safe. And shot what?
But shot arrows.
And shot arrows. Read.
And lightning.
And lightning. Read.
Against the enemies.
Against the enemies. And did what?
So that being confounded with blindness.
And what?
That being confounded with blindness.
Being confounded with blindness. Did not Elisha say, Lord, strike them and blind them. That's the power that we have. Command over these spirits. And being confounded with blindness, read.
And full of trouble, they were killed.
And they were what?
They were killed.
They were killed. You have something you want to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another account of the same power that we have, and everything is through God. When you believe, you're faithful, you keeping the laws, the devil cannot attack you, and you are in your spiritual height of power.
Exactly.
2 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 24. During battle, like Cap said, when you out in the streets, you believe faithfully in these words. What they're seeing is not what appears. Go ahead.
2 Maccabees chapter 3 verse 24. Now, as he was there present himself with his guard, about the treasury, the Lord of spirits.
The who?
The Lord of spirits.
Read.
And the Prince of all power caused a great operation, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God.
The power of who?
At the power of God.
And what happened to them?
And fainted, and were sore afraid. For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. And he ran fiercely and smote at Heliodorus with his 4 feet. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete hardness of gold.
That's it. You know what I mean? So we have the angels battling with us. You know, they see terror when that word of God is coming out. Because it says even the devils tremble when they hear these words. All right?
Exactly. We can't see it, but the animals can see it. I'll say it again. We can't see it, but the animals can see it, and that's why they run. You have the donkey say, oh, no. You had an angel standing there with a sword. Because the animals are open up to the spiritual realm.
Right.
Now go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 7.
The book of Revelations, chapter 12 and verse 7. And there was war in heaven.
And there was what?
And there was war in heaven.
There was war in heaven. Read.
Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels.
We're seeing war in different realms. Michael and his angels have fought against the dragon and his angels. And guess what? That war is going to be translated from the spiritual realm to the real realm. We're going to see them. The spiritual realms that we see, the 10,000s and thousands of angels fighting, God says, don't worry, I'm going to bring everything for the forefront. You're going to see my power. And all nations are going to understand that I am God and there's none else beside him.
Hey, Cap, that's why when the apparition in 2 Maccabees 5 happened, we prayed that it might turn to good.
Yep.
Because why? It was going to happen on the earth.
Exactly. Now, 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 39.
2 Ezra chapter 13 and verse 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land.
2 Ezra 13, verse 39. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Or is it 2 Ezra 12, verse 39?
Check.
Or 11:39, I believe.
Yes.
Go on.
2 Ezra chapter 11 and verse 39. Art not thou it that remaineth of the 4 beasts whom I made to reign in my world?
So Christ is saying, are not thou who remaineth of the 4 beasts, whom I did what?
Whom I madest to reign in my world.
Whom I made to reign in my world. This is Christ's world. He allows and he gives power. Like I said, Christ gives spiritual power to a kingdom in order to rise up and to overthrow another kingdom. I'll say it again. Christ gives spiritual power to a kingdom to rise up and to overthrow a kingdom. He said, art not thou whom thou madest to reign in my world? I'm the one that translate kingdom. Go on.
That the end of their times might come through them.
That the end of their times might come through them. So when Christ says the prince of Persia came and resisted me, we're seeing the struggle in the spiritual realm fighting, and Christ trying to translate the kingdom of the Persians into the Greeks. And Alexander, as you're going to see, had help. We're going to go into that.
Real quick, one scripture to prove that right there, Romans 13, verse 1. That the power that we see in Christ is the higher power governing all things, but he allows these kingdoms to rule. All this is ordained. Read.
Book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that are ordained of God. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God.
But of God,
The powers that be are ordained of God.
That's it. That's right there. Everything we see on this earth that's moving, every great nation you see ruling, that's because God is allowing them to rule for a time.
Exactly. right. Daniel 10 verse 13. Let's get back.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. And when he had spoken such words unto me, I set my face toward the ground, and I became dumb. And behold, one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my lips.
So one like the similitude of the Son of Man touched my lips. Who's the Son of Man? One we just read in verse 5, 4, and 5, which is Christ. He says Christ touched his lips. Go on.
Then I opened my mouth and spake and said unto him that stood before me.
Christ gave him the ability to be able to speak. And he opened his mouth and his lips and spoke before him. Go on.
O my Lord, by the vision my sorrows are turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can the servant of this my Lord talk with this my Lord? For as for me, straightway there remained no strength in me, neither is there breath left in me. Then there came again and touched me one like the appearance of a man, and he strengthened me and said, O man, greatly beloved, fear not.
He said, Daniel, you're greatly beloved. Don't fear. Read.
Peace be unto thee.
Peace be unto you.
Be strong. Yea, be strong.
Be strong, Daniel. Yea, be strong.
Be strong in the Lord.
And our power is might.
Be strong. Yea, be strong.
Be strong, Daniel. Read.
And he has spoken unto me, and I was strengthened.
And he spoke unto him. That's why we tell you, brothers and sisters, be strong. Yea, be strong. Take from this Bible and stand up. Read.
And I was strengthened and said, let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia.
And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. Go on.
And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come.
And when I go forth, the prince of Grecia, which is Alexander the Great, shall come in power. Read.
But I will shew thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince.
Now go to Daniel chapter 11, verse 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 11 and verse 1. Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now when I will shew thee the truth, behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia.
So the 3 kings that shall stand up is Cyrus, you have Cambyses, and you have Darius. Go on.
And the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
And the 4th, Xerxes, which is Ahasuerus, Esther's husband, shall be richer than them all. Read.
And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia.
So he shall stir up by his strength and the riches all of Grecia, the Athens, you have the Macedonians, all of Grecia. That's why Alexander was successfully able to unite all the Edomite empires, all the Edomites that took over Peloponnese, or you have, of course, what is called today, or Macedonia.
Yeah, Macedonia,
Sparta, Thrace, all those different locations. Remember, Esau was successfully able to conquer different territories, leading up to the last territory, Macedon. And after that, Alexander was able to gather all the Greek nations and to round them up against Xerxes. Go on.
And
Xerxes, sorry. Go on.
And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion.
And a mighty king shall stand up and that shall rule with great dominion. That's why they call him Alexander the Great, because of his great dominion that was given to him. Read.
And do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken.
And shall do according to his will. Now go back. Daniel chapter 8, verse 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Eula. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
So the ram represents the Medo-Persian Empire, and one horn was higher than the other, meaning the Persians rose up in power after the Medes. Go on with King Cyrus, take a succession of the throne. Read.
But one was higher than the other.
Well, one was higher in power than the other, which was the Medes. Read.
And the higher came last.
The Persians came last in rulership.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him.
So that's the Persians pushing northward, southward, that no kingdom, no people could stand before him. The beast, like I said, remember, this is a similitude. So no beast that could stand before him, as no empire or kingdom could withstand the Persians. Remember, the Persians conquered Ethiopia, the Sabians, Egypt. They conquered everybody. Go on.
Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great.
And remember, Xerxes came in power, did according to his will, and became great. They became a great kingdom. Read.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground.
And a he-goat, if you look at a goat is a symbol of power, because goats, if you look at a goat and the different clips you see on YouTube, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but they'll show clips of goats going against, I saw a goat going against rhinoceros. Not rhinoceros, yeah.
Oh, snap.
No, yeah, but I saw goats going against a dinosaur, a rhinoceros. Don't be laughing at me. If you show some pictures, yeah, show a video of goats. Why they use he-goats. It's some of the videos of goats. Going against cows or bulls. Those are rams. There's a reason why the Most High use different animals.
Judah back there, you don't know how the goat look like Judah?
Oh, gosh. Lives in Philly. He never seen a goat. And he gets 2 goats against it. I said goat against another beast.
Black on black crime. Niggas, yo, come on, bro.
Come on, man. Can you give me a goat and another beast? A goat against a cow, something like that? Or a goat against a bull?
Oh, man.
So we could get a visual of what we're seeing? Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Look how small a goat is in comparison. All right.
Goat versus a bull.
I hope we don't get stomped out.
I hope not,
be a
too.
good example.
Cow, like, I don't know, man.
They start going against each other.
Yeah.
Up against 2.
He said, I don't even want it with him. He said, I don't want it with the goat.
Like, what's up?
You want to do this? Pop off?
What?
And keeps pushing. That's all I want. Just show the example of why the Lord used a goat. Because goats, they don't back down for any creature.
Right.
I'll say it again, goats. I saw one video when it showed a goat, knocked out a cow. Completely just knocked him out.
That was the next one. That was the next
one?
Yeah,
let me see the next one. Oh, gosh. Who's on IT? Okay. It makes sense. There's a reason why.
Go back to where you was at. Don't make it difficult. Goat fight.
Is that the one he passed out?
Go back. Right here. What's
That's
that
the
up
one?
top? Goat knocks out cow.
Yeah.
Come on, play it.
That's like a linebacker, right? Dude running with the ball. Man down.
Look, my
Man down.
That's
Someone please call 911.
That's the same. Oh, that's the same sound you hear in a football game when they run across you.
I don't know if I want to go anymore. I'm about to make some curry goat. He does something to me. All right, let's go back.
Oh, man.
Oh, I said no more goats. Benjamin getting excited. Let's continue with the
Daniel.
goats.
Oh, sorry. You said the verse?
Yeah, the verse.
Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he...
It says the he-goat came from the west.
Yeah, I was looking at that, Cap.
The he-goat came from the west.
We've been touching on who subjugate the West.
We've been touching on that. Go on.
And he came to the ram that had two horns.
And he came to Persia that had two horns, read.
Which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
And that's what we just saw a second ago. How the goat was able to take over or to collapse the cow. The goat ran unto him in the fury of his power. Because after Philip of Macedon died, Alexander went crazy conquering. Go on.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler.
He was moved with anger against him.
And smote the ram.
And smote the Persians, read.
And break.
Which was Darius, read.
And break his two horns.
And broke both empires, read.
And there was no power in the ram.
There was no power in Persia anymore, read.
To stand before him.
Mm-hmm.
But he cast him up to the ground and stamped upon him.
He cast him to the ground. He conquered, overthrew him, and Hellenized him. He stamped his ideologies on him. Read.
And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
And there's none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. And you notice now, can you get me the video? Remember, I read earlier, the prince of Persia withstood me. So now you see in the translation of power, it said it was none power. Read that one part again.
Yes,
there's
sir.
no power.
Verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and break his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
Remember what we just read earlier. We went just a series of scriptures to show you the translation of kingdoms and how Christ translates power from one kingdom to another kingdom. He says, are not the fourth beast which I have made to rule in my world? So Christ and Michael controls or decides what kingdom is he going to translate and give that power in order to rule, dominate the whole earth. It's not these kingdoms, oh hand. Titus the one understood, remember, on the siege and the overthrowing of Jerusalem, he understood that God gave him that power in order to rule. Right. You find that for me. So they understand that Christ is the one that's translated and given that power or demonic power for these kingdoms in order to rule and subjugate all kingdoms. Now, let me show you something. If you could get that image with Alexander. Because Alexander, he didn't conquer Persia on his own. I'll say it again. Alexander didn't conquer Persia on his own. He had help. I didn't want that. Did I say get? No, I didn't say that. What do you do in your own mind? Give me that. Come on. Give me that. Give me that image that's in front of you. Thank you. Pay attention. All right. Let's put that on the screen.
In 329 BC, Alexander the Great's journals described a UFO sighting. Two gleaming silver shields in the sky spit fire at his army.
So if you can see the two gleaming silver shields spit fire. So it's rumored that now let's get the article. If you can see it. So Alexander saw chariots. Let's get the article I sent you. It's a link. Yep, thank you.
Did Alexander the Great really see UFOs?
Enlarge it. Okay.
Among the famous historical stories one frequently finds in ufology literature, and all over the internet is the supposed UFO sighting of Alexander the Great. It apparently began in 1959 when American writer and broadcaster Frank Edwards wrote the following in his book, Stranger Than Science. Alexander the Great was not the first to see them, nor was he the first to find them troublesome. He tells of 2 strange craft that dived repeatedly at his army until the war elephants, the men, and the horses all panicked and refused to cross the river where the incident occurred. What did the things look like? His historians describe them as great shining silvery shields spitting fire around the rim.
During the siege.
During the siege of Tyre in the year 332 BC, strange flying objects were observed. Johann Gustav Droysen, in his History of Alexander the Great, does not cite it intentionally, believing it to be a fantasy of the Macedonian soldiers. The fortress would not yield. Its walls were 50 feet high and constructed so solidly that no siege engine was able to damage it. The Tyrians disposed of the greatest technicians and builders of war machines of the time, and they intercepted in the air the incendiary arrows and projectiles hurled by the catapults on the city. One day, suddenly, there appear over the Macedonian camp these flying shields, as they have been called, which flew in triangular formation, led by an exceedingly large one. The others were...
It said, which, read it again, in triangle what?
Triangular formation, led by an exceedingly large one.
Can you give me Isaiah 31? Oh, man. So it says that my virtual's leaving me. Read it again.
One day suddenly there appeared over the Macedonian camp these flying shields, as they had been called, which flew in triangular formation.
Flew in triangular formation. Read that.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 31 and verse 5. As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem.
So as birds flying, the triangular formation is the formation of birds. Can you show that real quick? Birds flying? Yeah, thank you. You did something right. I'll have to talk to you after class. So read that again. So as what?
As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem.
So that's the triangular formation that the Macedonian armies was describing during the Tyrian battle. So as birds flying, triangular formation. I'll go back to the article.
It says, one day suddenly there appeared over the Macedonian camp these flying shields, as they had been called, which flew in triangular formation, led by an exceedingly large one.
Led by an exceedingly large one, a commander. Go on.
The others were smaller, but almost a half. In all, there were 5. The unknown chronicler narrates that they circled slowly over Tyre, while thousands of warriors on both sides stood and watched them in astonishment. Suddenly, from the largest shield came a lightning flash that struck the walls. These crumbled, over other flashes followed, and walls and towers dissolved, as if they had been built of mud, leaving the way open for the besiegers, who poured like an avalanche through the breaches. The flying shields hovered over the city until it was completely stormed. Then they very swiftly disappeared aloft. Soon,
damn! Go back to Daniel 10 verse 13. This is what... Damn. That's
what soon melted into the blue sky.
Disappeared. After they threw down the wall, overturned the wall, destroyed it, then they disappeared. My job is done. Daniel chapter 10 verse 20.
The book of Daniel chapter 10 and verse 20. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia.
You see it? That's what Christ said. Now I will return to fight against the prince of Persia. You're seeing the intervention of angels intervening in warfare. That's what we just saw. The chariots came out of nowhere. They said 2 flying shields in the sky and threw lightning bolts at the walls, tore it down, and it hovered over them until the enemy completely took over that territory. Go on.
And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come.
And when go for the prince of Grecia shall come. And that's why Christ and the angels was controlling the succession of the Greco-Roman or the Greek Empire coming in rulership. Now, go to Daniel chapter 7 verse 6.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads. And
so this is talking, the leopard is making reference to the Greek Empire, representing Alexander as well as the Greeks. Can you give me that? So Alexander, historically, if you go into the Museum of Natural History on Central Park and 81st Street, you see that Alexander wore a leopard hat. So read that again.
And behold, verse 6.
Come on.
And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
Another like a what?
Like a leopard.
Like a leopard. Listen, this Bible's a true book. Alexander wore a leopard hat. Another like a leopard. So you have different empires that represented animal figures. Alexander represented the leopard because he was swift and fast to conquer the Persian and all ruling dark nations. Go on.
Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Now, can you get the other? So the 4 wings of the fowl goes to his 4 generals that he rose up in power after his succession. So another image. Another like a leopard.
Dang.
Leopard skin.
Dang.
The Bible's a true book. Telling you who will rise up in power. Can you get me now? Oh, can you get the book when we understood?
Is that a coincidence, Scott, that they made that picture like that?
It's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
There's no such thing as coincidence.
Right.
You got that?
Hey, get that page. The last page I sent y'all before we started. Hey, just going back to when the UFOs shot lightnings and the larger one. It's no different to when we was coming out of Egypt and the Most High shot lightnings at the Egyptians' chariots.
No different.
No different. Blow that up. It says, there is no doubt. Highlight where I'm at so people can follow along. There's no doubt. All right. There's no doubt that the story of Alexander's approach to Jerusalem and the favors which he heaped upon the Judeans in consequence of a peculiar vision rests upon a legend. The high priest, so it is related, dressed in his holy garments, followed by a troop of priests and then Levites, went forth to meet the youthful warrior and produced so great and extraordinary an effect upon him that his anger was at once changed into kindness and goodwill. The explanation given by Alexander to his followers was that the high priest, thus attired, had appeared to him in a dream, which he had in Macedonia, and had promised him victory. According to one legend, it was the high priest Jeddah. According to another, his grandson Simon, who produced this effect upon the Macedonian hero. In reality, the meeting between Alexander and the envoys of the Judean community no doubt passed simply and naturally enough. The high priest, perhaps Onias I, Jedah's son and Simon's father, went forward like the kings and princes of the land with a suite of elders to do homage and swear allegiance to the conqueror. Alexander was a noble, generous conqueror who punished cruelly only resistance to his will, but in no way interfered with the peculiar development. The customs or religious rights of any nation under his sway. He did not force the Grecian faith on any nation and the favor which he granted to other nations. He certainly did not deny to the Judeans they were only obliged to pay the Macedonian governor the same tax on their lands as the Persian satrap had received.
So there's another book I have where he offers sacrifice to the Most High.
Yeah, but going back, that was a lot we just read. Go back up to when he had that dream. So the point is, go back up. So the point is, Alexander. The explanation given by Alexander to his followers was that the high priest, thus attired, had appeared to him in a dream which he had in Macedonia and had promised him victory. So he ran into that the same high priest, Jeddah. He seen him in a dream, and Jeddah told him, gave him the prophecy that, yo, you're gonna be the one.
Just like we had during Cyrus, it was the same thing.
So when he went to Jerusalem, he didn't touch nothing in Jerusalem.
No.
Yeah, he left us alone.
So we dealt the same thing with the Persians, as well as the Greeks coming to power Alexander. So we understood by the books of Daniel and the writers, the prophecies, that he was the next ruling king to reign over the earth. So now, get Maccabees 1 verse 1.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian.
Now, I know he took a big detour. A couple class detours. That was really a long detour, to be honest. So after this, we start off with this scripture like 3 classes ago, 4 classes ago.
We did.
So after this, Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian. So there should be no confusion, Alexander being called the Macedonian. Remember, they conquered the Amalekites, colonized Macedon, seized control of the Greek Empire, and subjugated Italy, as well as all of Europe, as it began the conquest. So Alexander the Macedonian succeeded in power of the Macedonians, which was the son of Chittim, a son of Javan, descended from Japheth, and he became them. That's why I said earlier, a fugitive and a vagabond shall be on the earth. They succeed, and it's culture vulture, identity theft. They take the identity of all nations. So Alexander, the son of Philip of Macedon, read,
who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persian and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So Alexander reigned in his stead after he conquered Darius III. He reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. But it says Alexander the Macedonian. So let's put the nail in a coffin and let's bring this to a closure. This is the conclusion. Give me the book. Page 48. Yep, let's start with Philip. So it says Philip the Macedonian. Let's enlarge that. So was Philip a Macedonian? Was Philip from Japheth? Because the theory or the claims that Caucasians are Japhetic comes from this history of the Alexandrians or the Macedonians. Alex and Philip and his lineage succeeded in taking control over those territories in Europe. Read.
In the land of Rome and of the Maghreb was a great empire, that of the Ionians, or Greeks.
Or Greeks, go on.
King Philip was a descendant of Esau, son of Isaac.
So King Philip was a descendant of Esau. I'll read it again.
In the land of Rome and of the Maghreb was a great empire, that of the Ionians, or Greeks. King Philip was a descendant of Esau.
Philip of Macedon was an Edomite. He was a descendant of Esau. But that's why the author was confused. He said, wait a minute, Chittim, the Macedonians is Chittim.
Bring her.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 4, but you have the Jewish priests, they're saying that. That's the confusion. That's why you got to put the pieces of the puzzles together, and only we could do that. Only we could trace the history back when they left Petra. From the time period they left Petra, and around 606 BC, when Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians came in power, Esau made their transition and they migrated to southern Palestine, and then they went and conquered, the Etruria.
Right.
The Etruscans, they conquered them, subjugated Italy, and they took over Macedon, and they conquered all Greece under Alexander. But remember, they're from Petra. They're from the land of Edom. They're from Basra. This is the lineage. This I'm telling you, I'm showing you how it happened and when it happened. And it happened 330. That was only 300 years prior for them having that meeting and say, you're going to conquer Rome, you're going to conquer Etruria, you're going to conquer Greece, we're going to put transplants in Macedon. This is all figured out way in advance before they made their move. That's why they was able to successfully conquer each territory and then move out into all of Europe. Now let's get the next one.
Right. And their scholars wrote that they are the devils.
Exactly.
The Bible said they're red and hairy.
Red and hairy. Let's read that.
Red devils.
That Alexander was a son of Philip is a fact.
But Alexander was a son of Philip is a fact. Read.
Too evident to be concealed.
Too evident to be concealed. Read.
His pedigree is stated by the most celebrated genealogists in this way.
Come on. Keep going.
Philip the First.
Hermes. Keep going. Come on, Femi, come on. Bring it. Come on.
Meton.
Read.
Rome.
Read.
Yanan.
Read.
Japheth.
Read.
Ramaiah.
Keep going.
Bicentennium.
Read.
Theophil.
Uh-huh.
Rome.
Read.
Alsaphar.
Read.
Eliphaz.
What?
Eliphaz.
What?
Eliphaz.
Eliphaz and who else?
Esau.
Esau. Who's Eliphaz? Who is Eliphaz? Let's get Genesis chapter 10. Eliphaz and Esau. Philip Alexander goes back to the genealogical pool of Eliphaz. Who did Eliphaz have?
Bring it out.
Did Eliphaz have? Go back to Esau, Isaac, and Abraham. Eliphaz. Who is Eliphaz?
You got it? You look like you can...
Yeah, you struggling right there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Holy crap. Genesis 36.
Oh, this thing got him shaking. All right, this thing is shaking. All this
the white man's the devil the Bible speak of.
Chapter 36 and verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek.
And she bare what?
She bare to
Eliphaz Amalek. Come on! Stop playing with us! Stop the press! Stop the press!
Oh, you gonna learn?
You gonna learn today, baby!
Hey, Cap, real quick. Read verse 8 real quick. Just so you don't lose a thought.
Get the Amalek colonized again.
Just so y'all don't lose a thought. We know who Amalek daddy is.
You go.
We're going to tell you who his daddy is, and we're going to tell you who he is. Read verse 8.
Verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau.
Who?
Esau.
Read.
In Mount Seir.
Read.
Esau is Edom.
Read verse 9.
Verse 9. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites.
The father of the Edomites. Where?
In Mount Seir.
Now connect that with verse 12.
Verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek.
Hey, jump down to 15.
Verse 15. These were dukes.
They were what?
Dukes.
They were dukes, the ruling class of Esau. Go ahead.
Of the sons of Esau. The son of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau. Duke Timon.
That's all. That's it. That's all I want.
That's it. And we heard that name in literature many a times earlier.
Right.
Timon.
So read that.
Amalekites, a powerful people who dwelt in Arabia desert between the Red Sea and Dead Sea.
Powerful people. There's a reason why they keep coming up in position of authorities over kingdoms. Every captivity. Oh, I just said something there. Don't worry. We're going to touch that too.
They were the descendants of Amalek. A tradition prevails that a small number of the Amalekites colonized a part of Greece and were the stock whence the Macedonians.
So Philip, Alexander, Haman were Amalekites.
Dang.
Now, let's go to Ptolemy. Let's finish this up. Daniel chapter 11, verse 1. No, Daniel chapter 11, verse 4.
Yes, sir.
Daniel chapter 11, verse 4.
Yes, sir. The book of Daniel, chapter 11 and verse 4. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion, which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside these.
So you have Alexander's kingdom after he died. Now let's go back to Maccabees, chapter 1, verse where we last left off from, verse 1, verse 2. So after Alexander died, you have four generals rose up in power. You have Lysimachus, you have Ptolemy, you have General Cassandra, as well as Seleucus. And Ptolemy, like I said, what we're focused on right now is Ptolemaic Dynasty, which succeeded Alexander in controlling Egypt today. Remember the thought. I don't want you to lose thought of a class and a series of classes of Esau's succession and becoming the pharaohs of Egypt. Whitewashing history. Go on.
First Maccabees 1, verse 1. And it happened.
Verse 2 now.
Verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries, and nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
Because why? He was a bisexual, homosexual. Go on.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And evils were multiplied in the earth after Alexander the Great came in power, and his 4 successors after him, the 4 generals that we just listed. Now, you have the book, Egypt under the Ptolemies. And get that. Did I send you the highlighted part? No. Did I say that? Did I say that?
Egypt under the Ptolemies.
Yep. Come on. No. Oh, Lord. Did I say...
Yo, Dink, I thought Cap sent this to y'all in the order.
All right. Let me see. I didn't send it to you?
Hey, so now y'all know that going back, Alexander, his father Philip, we just brought pretty much the whole lineage to y'all that, look, they're Amalek. They're of the seed of Amalek, descendants of Amalek, as well as Haman. All right, don't forget about Haman. We also, just to do a little review, we also showed you that how Haman got into power also. All right, so all of this, like Cap said, we took a long detour to bring y'all all the way back to this right here about Alexander, then the 4 generals going into Ptolemy. Okay, so it's a lot of history. I hope y'all gleaned a lot from it. I hope y'all took great notes because, listen, where else you gonna get this history from?
Right.
Who gonna bring this out to you?
Right.
You ain't gonna get this in school.
Hey, officer, if this doesn't make it plain, Scripture says make it plain. That's why that long detour was to make it plain, to show you everything that their scholars wrote in their book was already written in the Bible. It was written in the Scriptures. All right. So we made it very, very plain for you to understand.
Right. Also, yeah, like I was saying, we made it very, very plain. So there should be no confusion of who Alexander is. There should be no confusion who the Japhites are. We shouldn't be confused anymore.
Yeah, and who's the ruling power?
Right, and who's
that's why Amalek right now is still in ruling power.
Hey, hold on. I got to bring this back up. Listen, we kicked their behinds many times already in the Scriptures.
Right.
The reason why we lacking right now is because the understanding that our forefathers had back then, we don't have it now. This is 1 Kings 8 right now back into your remembrance. You know what I mean? We'll be thinking ourselves now. We're knowing who we are. We know where our power lies. And they will get their behinds kicked again. You black folks just got to get yourself together.
Hey, early on in the show, we went into how the nations Esau knew. Like off the court brought out about the 3 generals, how they were family, and Cap brought out how they knew we was gonna go into slavery. Hey, get this page for me real quick. This is Josephus. This is Josephus. Go down. Go down to the next one. I sent you just one page, right? Okay, let me see. Go down. Go back up.
We're here.
I thought I sent you both pages. Oh, here we go.
What it do?
Hey, listen, this is a glorious day in Israel, Cap.
Get that page first.
The spiritual realm has been exposed to the people. They know, the angels are warring right now.
That's right.
We just got to get your mind right when this translates to the flesh.
Yep, exactly.
This is what this is about. Go ahead, officer.
But nah, Cap, go ahead. I don't want to.
All right, let's go to Ptolemy.
Yeah, I don't want to deter anything.
Hey, bring that up.
All right. Egypt under the Ptolemies. The conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great in 332 BC entirely changed the character of Egyptian history and of the Egyptian
Read it again.
So the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great in 332 BC entirely changed
the character of Egyptian history. Completely changed the character of Egyptian history. Keep going.
And of the Egyptian people.
And the what?
And of the Egyptian people.
He changed the character, not only in Egyptian history, but he changed the character of the Egyptian people as well. Go on.
And laid the foundation of their future greatness and glory. He made Alexandria the capital of Egypt.
That's why you have Alexandria. They call the places after their names. Go on.
And conferred upon it the advantages of Greek civilization, which rapidly spread among the native population.
And conferred upon it the Greek civilization because Alexander came and Hellenized everywhere. Go on.
This change brought Egypt into constant and familiar intercourse with the rest of the world.
So pretty much he Americanized or Hellenized Egypt and brought him in course with everywhere else. Because Egypt was his own civilization and empire. So they were separate from everybody. They had an African culture. So Alexander, what is called whitewashed history. He changed it. He changed the characters. He changed the culture completely, just like America does today. It's called Americanized or democratized. Go on.
And the old exclusiveness of the ancient Egyptians was forever broken down.
And the old exclusiveness of the ancient Egyptians were forever broken down. And this goes back to the first article we read at the beginning of the series, Kevin Hart. But Kevin Hart, when he says ancient Egyptian was an African nation, they said, no, that's not true. Go on.
Thus, the Macedonian kingdom in Egypt presented a remarkable and striking contrast to the native kingdoms and the Persian satrapy, when Palestine was annexed to the Macedonian Egyptian kingdom.
Now let's get the next book.
Hey, Kevin, that's all. When you look at the Sphinx of Egypt, all their noses is broken.
Yeah.
They're the one that caused it.
Yep, exactly.
The racial origins of the first Egyptian people are obscured.
So they say, these guys are the devil. It says the racial...
There's nothing else to be said.
Oh yeah, that's not doing.
Yeah, right.
The image of the black image from the pharaohs to the fall of the Roman. He look black to me. What do you mean I'm scared? Yo, these people lie. They have you see black figures on your face. But I don't know, Bill. And look like black people. Maybe they were slaves with hats on. And just like they have the coin with
Hannibal.
With Hannibal, and they say he was a slave on the top of the coin. I don't know how a black person could ever be in a position of rulership. Why these niggas have funny hats on with Sphinx right next to them, sit in a position of authority? Maybe their white master gave them a higher seat. Just to have them feel good about themselves for one day. It don't make no sense. Look, just keep going, man.
Why would a slave put himself on a coin?
Yeah.
It's the beginning of white supremacy.
Yeah, this is the beginning of white... What you're seeing is the beginning of white supremacy on earth, like Ursula Quad just stated. Read.
The racial origins of the first Egyptian people are obscured.
It's confusion. We can't determine it. Read.
But it is obvious to any visitor that the type made familiar by the paintings and sculptures of ancient Egypt still persists side by side with the multitude of others left by the numerous conquests and immigrations, which the country has suffered since the Assyrian conquest in the 7th century BC.
Read that again.
Says, but it is obvious to any visitor that the type...
Any visitor that goes to Egypt, read.
That the type made familiar by the paintings and sculptures of ancient Egypt still persist side by side with the multitude of others left by the numerous conquests and immigrations.
Keep going.
Which the country has suffered since the Assyrian conquest in the 7th century.
Remember, we went over that. Where Sharadan came and conquered Egypt because it says Egypt shall be ashamed. Every time, and the reason why the Most High destroyed Egypt, and they show you world history based upon the Lord rising up the Assyrians to overthrow and conquer the Egypt. Because remember, Israel, the northern kingdom, primarily made Egypt their strength. So the Most High had to send Sharadan down in order to conquer the Egyptians so that Israel won't go to them. So he removed them completely out of the picture. Go on.
That conquest left little trace, but the Greeks who came...
So that, go on.
First as mercenaries and merchants, and later with Alexander the Great as conquerors in the 4th century BC.
As conquerors in the 4th.
Mercenaries and merchants. Just like they do with the missionaries.
Yep.
The CIA goes covered
Mhm.
as missionary to a country, pretending that they come to do good. Then the military follows.
Yep, exactly.
And later with Alexander the Great.
Yep. Send in the military.
Right. So they set the stage for Alexander to come in.
Mercenaries, right?
Yeah.
Damn.
Uh,
The jackals.
mercenaries and merchants, and later with Alexander the Great as conquerors in the 4th century BC, brought profound changes.
Read.
In Egypt, Alexander was succeeded by Ptolemy.
Go on.
One of his generals.
Read.
And Ptolemy family ruled until the death of Cleopatra in the 1st century AD. With Mark Antony and Augustus, Romans succeeded Greeks as rulers of the Eastern Mediterranean.
Now, can you get me the page where it's highlighted? The art dealer, William Wright.
And that's why they say in their movies about the Egyptian, they always show you the white people.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
Hey, and they always show you Cleopatra.
Right.
Yep.
Right? The sculpture.
Now y'all understand when y'all see Passion of the Christ, why these characters are white.
Yep.
You know, because from this history here, they whitewash the original people that was in rulership in Egypt, and now they starting to tell their story on their rulership, not the origin of the place that they conquered.
Yep, that's exactly what's happening. After they succeeded them, they're telling their story of them being the Egyptian kings or pharaohs of Egypt.
Absolutely.
Now read that.
The art dealer William Wright has attacked what he calls...
Because Cleopatra, if you look at it, was an Edomite.
Right.
She was a descendant of Ptolemy, and the Ptolemaic Dynasty, they were ruling during that time period. So they are telling their story from their view or their world view of their empire, their rulership as the Egyptians. Go on.
The art dealer William Wright has attacked what he calls the whitewash of Egypt.
The whitewash of what?
Egypt.
The whitewash of Egypt under Alexander when he changed the characters as well as the culture forever. The whitewashing of Egypt. Go on.
And Western museums in general and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York in particular, his articles take as its starting point an exhibition on the gold of Moreau. By placing this exhibition alongside the Egyptological collections, far away from the black art of the Rockefeller wing, Wright argues the museum created the impression that Nubians, like Egyptians, were white.
Were what?
Were white.
Were white. They created oppression. They separated the Egyptian art, the whitewashing of Egypt, from the act of black art, and they get the perception that the Egyptians or the Nubians were white people.
How, Sway?
I gotta show you that they say they put him far away.
They know what they're doing. Go on.
And wait, and Nubia was in Africa, but not of Africa.
In the Bible, but not of the Bible. Yo, they said even though Egypt, and they argue with Kevin Hart on in an article. They said, "Well, how is he gonna come and say that the ancient Egyptians were black, even though Africa's a black continent?" No, it's not so. Can you shut your black lips or your white, pink, small lips?
Right,
Africa.
Your monkey lips.
Yeah, don't let me go in. They say this guy's racist over here.
That's not whiteness, bro.
Give me ancient Egypt. Yep, exactly. If you can find me something also to Charlton Hester and how they do us.
That's the same thing they said about Jerusalem. They say, oh, it's in Africa, but it's not.
It's not Africa.
And that's why they create that Suez
Canal. Yes,
it's separated from Africa.
Exactly. All right, get that?
That's why it says that thought of every one of them is deep.
So actually, let's read that in 1 Maccabees 3, verse 48. Let's get some scriptures.
First Maccabees, chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to plant the likeness.
What? Wait, what? Plant?
Sorry. Had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Can you read it again?
Yes, sir.
Had a Sesame Street moment.
Take a look, it's in our book, a reading rain.
Yo, IT was waiting for that phone. Look. Yo, that came faster than a damn bomb right there.
Yeah. I got something for you made that. Verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
So let's show you this, the conduct and the nature of Esau. These are the Greeks that they're reading about. Remember, the Greek already seceded Syr. They already seceded Etrusca. They already seceded Italy. They already seceded Macedonia. They already seceded Greece. Now you're seeing them start to push forward and conquer us. So now you saw I'm telling you, the Bible's showing you what they do and what they did to the previous empires. Remember, Rome destroyed the Etruscans' history. Now look what the Greeks are trying to do. Read.
Wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
So they laid open the book. Show that on the screen. So once the Greeks came in power, remember, Rome did it already. I just said Rome did it. They wiped out the history. They changed their architecture. And they painted the likeness of the image. They did it under the Etruscans. They did it in Italy. They did it in Greece. And now they're trying to do it with us. And they successfully, later on, as time went by, did it with us. So they started under the Greek. Like Officer Laquat stated, this was the beginning of white supremacy and a whitewashing of history. Look,
evils was multiplied.
Evils was multiplied. Get me Job 9, verse 24. Evils was multiplied, and this is what they do. They cover up history. They change it. They change the characters. They change the information. They destroy records, and they put their faces on it.
The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
The earth was given to the hand of the wicked. That's why it says, and evils were multiplied upon the earth under Alexander the Greek and his successors. Read.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
And they tried it now. They did it to us. Not only us did they do it to. When they covered our faces, they covered Moses. They covered David. They covered King Solomon. They covered all of our ancestors. Peter, Paul, Jesus Christ. The main face of the judge they covered. But they also covered all of the ancient Egyptians. They covered the Japhetic tribes, Etruscans. They covered Javan. They covered the Minoans. They covered all the faces of everybody on this earth. And they replaced it with their face. They sought to paint the likeness of their images. All right? Now, you want to bring something up, officer?
Yes. Right here is a book going into a timeline of the Ptolemies in Egypt. And also, what's good about this book is the understanding how we came with the book that you showed, Cap, how the culture of a dark race translated to a red race of people in a Nubian land, in a black land. So this is sculptures about the Ptolemies, Greek kings, remember, Greek kings as Egyptian pharaohs. So the pharaohs did not always look like what they portray today. And that's what that book goes into. The link I showed you, just scroll down to one of the chapters. I think it's going to be like chapter 6. It says chronological.
I don't know how
you that this something like that. Oh, yeah, of the Hellenistic area. Oh, it's a tongue twister for Levi. All right, chill. All right, help me out here, Judge. Chapter 6. Blow that up.
Chapter 6, chronology.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the word you're trying to
chronology.
Oh, shit.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord, help us.
It's a tongue twister.
Oh, my God.
Chronology. All right, go ahead.
Chapter 6, chronology. The chronology of Hellenistic sculpture is a much debated topic.
Stop. These sculptures kind of put a mark in history to come about what Egypt looks like. Go ahead.
A dark Egyptian-style portraits of Ptolemies are no exception. A dark stone head of a king at Yale has been dated to both the early Ptolemaic period and the early Roman period. A non-monolithic limestone head of a queen, Alexandria, has been attributed to the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st centuries BC. These are but 2 examples. Despite the existence of some well-established points in the chronology of Ptolemaic royal portraits, scholars often differ on the identification of specific sculptures because systematic and consistent dating methods are few.
That's it. So what they did was establish their image so that the whole world would see Egypt different than what it is. All right. So this is a good book to add to the collection, just to be able to explain how Egypt became white under the Ptolemaic